This is Atomic Shinobi and today I'm going to narrate second part of what if Naruto inherited the lost power of the Ninjetti. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Things had returned to normal after everything in Kumo was put right. Kiba's mother was teaching Kiba and Akamaru more and more about the Inuzuka clan and their methods. Even more of the Falcon Sword Kenjutsu style was being taught to Naruto. He was now proficient in all of the style's unique moves. All he needed now was more practice with it. Hinata had figured out how to take out a Tenga with just one blow. Tenga had numerous vital tendons a little bit lower and in front of the ankle, she discovered. Many of those tendons would be damaged if Hinata were to get a shot there, making it excruciatingly painful to bear weight. The Tenga would be of little use if she could shoot both. They had all learned at least one lightning jutsu, too. They had to use those lightning jutsu to battle the cyber Tenga if Hinata was unable to assist for any reason. They weren't alone in their learning, though. It had been going well for Team 2. Currently, they were completing roughly one mission every day. Ino had apologized to everyone in their graduating class for her behavior since returning from Anko. She said she would be more friendlier and more thoughtful. Shoji, Shikamaru, and Naruto all immediately forgave her, but the others did not. They prevented her from approaching them too closely. Other than that, however, Ino had caught up to the other genin. She was exercising every day, eating a ninja-worthy diet, and, as Shino put it, still looked hot. Before, she resembled the ideal of what anorexics want to be. She had more meat on her bones now, though. She wasn't starving her body, but she wasn't fat either. Shikamaru's involvement in strategy had been increasing. For his team, he had been developing more tactics and battle plans. He had been training more enthusiastically because his mother had been bugging him. Team 1 was a complete mess. They refused to listen to Kakashi's attempts to instruct them. Only Shino would attempt his battle strategies, but Shino was unable to be three people at once. Sakura and Sasuke refused to bond when he asked them to. He provided Sakura with a new exercise regimen and diet plan. She did absolutely nothing with it. Sasuke only desired jutsu, but Kakashi would not teach him until he had learned humility, self-control, and the importance of cooperation. A point that the Hokage supported. Kakashi taught Shino the Shadow Clone Jutsu with the Hokage's approval. Because Sasuke and Sakura didn't want to cooperate, Kakashi reasoned that Shino shouldn't perish. Shino's chakra reserves gradually increased to the point where he could create 10 clones without fainting. Shino continued to train for several more weeks, learning fighting techniques and jutsu while working out with his clones. Kakashi asked that Team 1's first C-rank mission be a joint mission with Team 3 in an attempt to unite his team. The Hokage gave them a mission and permitted it. They had received a request for bodyguards from a man named Tizuna. He needed protection while he was constructing a bridge that would link the Land of Waves and the Land of Fire. Both Team 1 and Team 3 were called in by the Hokage. This joint mission might help Team 3 stop bitching since they had just finished another D rank and were nagging him about receiving a C rank. Tora the cat was carried by Team 3 as they entered his mission office. The daimyo's wife took it from them and began strangling it. The door was kicked in just as they were ready to request another mission. Sakura trailed behind Sasuke as he entered. They were followed by Shino and Kakashi, who appeared embarrassed to be with them. That was all Sasuke could manage to say. "I'm tired of these D ranks, you old geezer. Give us a C rank now or I'll—" Kurenai disappeared and then reappeared, choking Sasuke with one hand and raising him off the ground before anyone could see her. Kurenai replied, "I don't care what family you come from, you degenerate bastard, but no one talks to Hokage. Sama like that, got it?" Shino put his hand over Sakura's mouth before she could begin to bitch. Kakashi sat next to Kurenai and said, "She's right, Sasuke. It's because of him that this village is still standing. He's more than earned his title and the respect that comes with it. Now, apologize to the Hokage or I will drop you from Team 1 and petition to have you forever banned from the shinobi program." Kurenai dropped Sasuke, causing him to fall on his ass as he stammered, "I'm sorry, Hokage." "Sama." Sarutobi replied, "I have something to talk to both your teams about. Team 3, you have more than earned the right to a C-rank mission." Hinata only had a slight smile on her face as Naruto and Kiba leapt into the air and cheered. Sarutobi went on. "Team 1, you haven't. You have only done 15 D ranks in your 2 months of being genin. Luckily for you, this C rank is a joint mission with Team 1, so you will be able to go. Now, meet your client." Tizuna entered at that sign. Sarutobi replied, "This man is Tizuna. He will be your client for this mission. Your assignment is to escort him back to the Land of Waves and guard him until he finishes his bridge. Is that understood?" "According to the 8 ninja, yes, Hokage," Sama. However, after consuming too much sauce, Tazuna made the decision to express his thoughts. Are these really ninja? This one? Sasuke. Looks like his hair is gonna come alive and fly off at any moment. And when does a ninja have neon pink hair? This girl is gonna stick out like a sore thumb. Sakura and Sasuke both wanted to remove Tazuna, but Shino and Kakashi held them back because their responses suggested that they would need to do so repeatedly. Kakashi replied, "Don't worry. Besides, if things get out of hand, I and Kurenai.san here are Junin. We'll be able to handle the situation." Tazuna replied, "Fine then. We'll leave from the western gate tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And Kurenai added, "We'll be sure to be there." Sarutobi continued, "If they aren't, I'll make sure that whoever is late is doing D ranks for the rest of their life." Since everyone was aware of Kakashi's tardiness, they all laughed at his expense. Shino remarked, "Don't be late, sensei." Sarutobi replied, "I'd advise all you guys to pack for a long mission." Dismissed. The following day, they all reached the gate at precisely 8 in the morning. The Junin were cleared to proceed after a brief inspection of their equipment. The ninja strolled along the road by Wave Country in the direction of the port town. Kiba and Hinata led the group, with Tazuna in the center. Sakura and Shino were on his right, and Naruto and Sasuke were on his left. Kurenai and Kakashi were trailing behind. While strolling, Naruto noticed a puddle. He and Takesere became alarmed by that. "Something's up, Naruto. You see that puddle?" Takesere said, opening their telepathic link to the others. "Yeah. It hasn't rained in weeks. There's no way that puddle is natural," Naruto said in his mind. Hinata replied, "I noticed it too. I didn't do anything because it could warn whoever made it." Kiba continued, "When me and Akamaru passed it, we got the scent of two males who smelled close to the same. They could be brothers. And they smelled like polluted river water, so they must spend a lot of time around a water source." Naruto was saying, "Just stay on your toes, guys. I got a feeling something's about to pop off." Two men with breathing masks on and ragged black cloaks leapt out of the puddle when Kurenai and Kakashi were 10 feet away. They were missing Nin because their Hite.8 had a large scratch through the Hidden Mist Village symbol. One was holding a gauntlet in his right hand, and the other was holding one in his left. The pair were connected by a shuriken chain. After sprinting toward the road's edges, the brothers crossed in front of Kurenai and Kakashi, entangling them in the chain. Everyone was drawn to the commotion by the rattling of the chain. The brothers eviscerated Kakashi and Kurenai after one of them yelled, "Two down." They both then pulled the shuriken chain. Sakura froze at the death of their sensei. However, she was alone. The brothers had to defeat 5 battle-ready genin before they could pursue Tazuna. They leapt to the right, but Kiba leapt and attempted to swipe at one. During that moment, Hinata lodged a kunai into a tree by throwing it in the center of one of the shuriken on the chain. The brothers attacked the group after removing the shuriken chain. Running forward, Shino kicked one in the chest. Leaping past Shino, Sasuke struck the man in the jaw. The man heard a cry of piercing fang as soon as he regained his equilibrium. He was looking to his right when Kiba struck him, knocking him against a tree and causing him to lose consciousness. Not much had changed for the other brother. Naruto charged at him and engaged him in combat. The man attempted to swipe with his claw after blocking Naruto's punch, but Hinata struck him from the right with a Juken strike to the side, knocking him to his left. Regretfully, that allowed him to shoot directly at their intended target, Tazuna. With a sly smile, the man sped past Naruto and Hinata. The man stopped and dropped to his knees, clutching his chest in agony, when he was 3 feet away from Tazuna. Naruto was behind him, gazing awestruckly at his girlfriend. Hinata was bending her legs and holding her left hand palm up at her hip. She had her right arm outstretched. Her palm was facing his back, as evidenced by the clenching of the top 2 fingers and the top thumb digit. Naruto replied, "Damn Hinata, what was that move? I've never seen you do it before." Hinata leaned back and said, 8 trigrams, air palm. It's basically a regular gentle fist strike, except it's able to be done from a distance. But since it's done from a distance, you have to put a lot more chakra into it since the chakra will start to dissipate as soon as it leaves your body. I put in enough chakra to liquefy all his inner organs. Kakashi and Kurenai returned to the man's side as he fell to his knees. Kurenai tossed him in his brother's direction and began tying the 2 of them to a tree. In the process, Kakashi turned against Tazuna. He replied, "Care to tell us what that was all about, Tazuna.san?" With a little perspiration, Tazuna asked, "What do you mean? You think I know?" Kakashi gave his single eye a certain glare and narrowed it. If Kakashi didn't hear what he wanted to hear, Tazuna would suffer terrible pain. according to the glare Kakashi was giving him. Kakashi responded, "Me and Kurenai both let ourselves be caught by those two to see who their target was. As soon as they took us out, they went after you. Now tell me why." These two were trained Shunin from the Hidden Mist Village. This was supposed to be a simple escort mission. The fact that there are enemy ninja on this mission means that this goes up to B rank, possibly A rank. But you're only paying for a C rank, which means we could leave your sorry bud to go home empty-handed. Now tell me the truth. Tazuna murmured, "A couple years ago, a businessman named Gato arrived at Wave Country. He and his hired thugs took over the country. Anyone who was against them was killed. The people of the country are starving and dying. This bridge is the only way to bring prosperity back to Wave Country. If we don't build this, our entire country will perish. We put our money together in secret, but we could only afford a C-rank mission. Please Kakashi-san, I'm begging you on behalf of my entire country to help us." Sasuke replied, "Too bad, old geezer. Unless you're coughing up the money, we're out of here, come on." Sakura followed Sasuke blindly as he went down the street. "Sasuke, just where do you think you're going?" asked Kakashi. Sasuke replied, "Where do you think? I'm going back to the village. If this old bag of bones isn't paying us, I'm not gonna help him." Kakashi responded, "I'm the leader of this mission, Sasuke, not you. If I say you're gonna help him, you will. Now let's put it to a vote. All who want to help Tazuna." Shino's, Kakashi's, and Team Kurenai's hands all raised. All opposed? Sakura and Sasuke held up their hands. Sasuke replied, "It's settled then. Sakura and I are against helping him and only Shino is for helping him. That means we're going back to the village. Now let's go." It was Kakashi who said, "You forgot about all of Team 3's votes." Sasuke replied, "They're their own team. Their opinions don't matter in our team affairs." According to Kakashi, except for the simple fact that we're on this mission together. Whatever we do, we'll do it together. We either all go to Wave or none of us go. And since the vote is 6-2 for going, we're going and that's final. Sasuke replied, "Just who do you think you are? I said that we're not going." Kakashi responded, "I really hope that you're not refusing a reasonable request by your senior officer, Genin. Because if you are, then that's insubordination. And by the rules of Konoha, insubordination calls for the same punishment as treason, kill on sight." Sasuke stated, "You also forget that there must be an unbiased witness. The losers in this group have all been jealous of my superior skills and my title of Rookie of the Year. None of them are unbiased witnesses." Sasuke grinned, believing he had triumphed, but when he saw one on Kakashi's face, he stopped grinning. "But Sasuke, you forget that in the case of there not being any unbiased witnesses, memories can be used as evidence. The Yamanaka will use their abilities to dive into both our minds and see this memory of you clearly refusing a reasonable request by your Junin officer. Now unless you want to be executed with extreme prejudice, I suggest you come with us." Sakura trailed behind Sasuke as he complained and moved forward. They arrived at a fisherman who was assisting Tazuna after another day of travel. He consented to transport them covertly into Wave Country. Unfortunately, they were unable to operate the boat's motor because doing so would have alerted Gato. And it would be the end of them all if Gato was warned. They arrived on land after a few hours of boating. All of the ninja, including Tazuna, leapt away. Hinata noticed something in the bushes on the way to Tazuna's house. Hinata quickly pulled out a kunai and hurled it at the bush. When Hinata threw it at the bushes, everyone turned to look at it and saw a white bunny. Sakura began to scream. "What the fuck is your problem, you pale-eyed bitch? You almost killed a poor bunny?" Sakura insulted his girlfriend, but before Naruto could scream at her, Kakashi remarked, "You're clueless, Sakura." "What do you mean?" asked Sakura. Shino said, "That's a snow hare. They're only white during the winter, but it's summer now so its fur should be brown. The fact that it's white means that it was raised in a building with a modified temperature. Most likely it was kept somewhere for a quick kawarimi." The ears of Akamaru and Kiba pricked up. A massive Zanbadu flew overhead and lodged itself in a tree as Kiba looked back and yelled, "Get down!" Everyone ducked. On the end of the Zanbadu, someone emerged. The man, whose mouth and nose were bandaged, was as tall as Kakashi. He was dressed in white pants speckled with black. He was also wearing elbow-length striped armbands. "Who the hell is that?" asked Kiba. Kakashi stated, "Zabuza Momochi, 26 years old, former Junin of Kirigakure no Sato, member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. Exiled from Kirigakure for a failed coup d'etat copyright tat. Nicknamed the Demon of the Hidden Mist. So, I get to meet Copycat Kakashi, at last," Zabuza said. Also present is Konoha's Genjutsu mistress. It looks like today will be enjoyable. Let's do this quickly, though. For the old man, I'm here. Give him up or perish. According to Naruto, you're not getting the old geezer. Zabuza began performing hand seals and shouted, "Water style, hidden mist jutsu. Then I guess your lives are forfeit." In addition to Zabuza and his enormous sword vanishing, a thick fog covered the entire area they were in, making it nearly impossible to see 8 feet ahead of you. Kakashi said, "Form up around Tazuna. We must prevent his death." There are 8 points in the human body that can easily cause death if agitated, Zabuza said as the 6 genin hurried around Tazuna and turned to face outward in search of him. These include the brain, larynx, clavicle, jugular vein, carotid artery, liver, heart, and lungs. Which one do you wish to murder? Sakura and Sasuke were trembling. Sakura had never experienced killing intent before, and the fact that it was against a killer with Zabuza's level of skill had her practically comatose. Zabuza's voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, and there was no way to find him by his voice. Additionally, Zabuza was practically oozing killing intent, which severely weakened the resolves of the genin. Shino was able to maintain control over his body, but his buds kept telling him that he had no chance against a trained killer like Zabuza. Even though Zabuza's murderous intent was far less than that of Itachi that night when he killed the clan, the sensation brought back memories of the Uchiha massacre that Sasuke wished would remain buried, and it made him tremble. Sasuke almost wanted to cut his own throat to escape the memories. When Kakashi noticed his genin's issue, he said, "Don't worry, guys. No one will be killed by Zabuza. I swear to you. You will all emerge from this intact and unharmed." Their fears were only partially allayed by that. "Are you so sure that you can keep that promise, Kakashi?" Zabuza asked. "You have no idea where I am, really." Then Zabuza said, "I might be right here." Zabuza's statement ended as he appeared directly behind the genin, his sword raised high, ready to kill Tazuna, but before he could reach him, Hinata, who was standing next to him, blasted him in the arm with an air palm. Zabuza roared in agony as Sasuke ran up and kicked him in the chest, sending him flying backwards. Naruto then threw a kunai directly at Zabuza's chest, and when the kunai struck, Zabuza transformed into a massive pool of water. "Water clone," muttered Kakashi. "He must have sent it to divert attention." "Guys, Zabuza must have made some water clones before he attacked us so he could have something to perform the Kawarimi with," Kakashi said, raising his voice. Once more, Zabuza's voice emerged from the fog. "Excellent, Kakashi-san. You seem to have figured out what I was planning, but you can't stop me because of that. Just 20 seconds ago, I nearly sliced the elderly man in 2. Why do you believe you can stop me?" "Easy," said Naruto. "You must pass through us before you can get to the ancient heap of bones." "And what are you supposed to be, ninja?" Zabuza asked. "Keep me from laughing. My hands were already covered in blood when I was your age. Until you've killed enough people to earn a place in my bingo book, you're not a ninja." "So, in your book, Zabuza, being a ninja means needless killing and slaughtering?" asked Naruto. "That, in my opinion, renders you a barbaric creature deserving of being put down and interred in an unmarked grave, and we're the only ninjas capable of doing it. So in your book I'm a savage beast, huh?" Zabuza asked, laughing. "My killing and slaughtering will continue with you 9. Punk, you're going to be the first to pass away." According to Naruto, "Bring it, you eyebrow, less freak." Zabuza fled from the trees and headed straight for Naruto. Naruto quickly sidestepped to pull Zabuza away from his friends, and Zabuza drew his sword, preparing to cut Naruto in 2. Naruto simply smirked as Zabuza struck him, slicing him in 2 from head to toe. Zabuza smirked and then scowled, wondering why there wasn't any blood where there should have been a mess. He noticed that the blonde idiot's remains were glowing, so he jumped back, but not quickly enough, and when the remains of Naruto exploded, he hit a tree 20 feet behind him and exploded in a splash of water. Naruto then returned to his place and remarked, "Clones, gotta love him." "So it appears that you took my strategy and used it against me?" Zabuza asked. "Punk, I detest thieves." Another Zabuza emerged from the mist and sliced Kakashi from head to toe, but Kakashi went up in water like the clone that was initially holding him. Zabuza smirked and grabbed Kakashi's arm, holding him in place after Kakashi stabbed a kunai into his gut before he could reach Naruto. 3 can play your little game, Zabuza, Kakashi remarked. After smirking and jumping into the water, Zabuza lured Kakashi to follow him. They began walking on water and engaged in a fistfight, which at first seemed to be going Kakashi's way. However, Kakashi fell into Zabuza's trap and became trapped in the water prison jutsu, and now that he was trapped and there was nothing they could do to free him, he yelled, "Guys, Take Tazuna and get out of here. There's a limit to how far his water clones can travel from him. You risk dying if you remain here. If you think we're going to run, then you are a moron, Kiba smirked. I'm not leaving unless we're all going, Hinata declared, her resolve unwavering. It wouldn't make sense to leave you here by yourself, Shino remarked. We require instruction from a Junin instructor because we are still genin. Our education would be jeopardized if you were left to die. Sasuke replied, if these underachievers are staying then so am I. Sakura instantly agreed with the person she was in love with, or obsessed with. There isn't much of a difference between them. It appears that we all agree, Naruto said, we are not going to abandon you. Despite having to pretend that he wanted them to leave him, Kakashi was proud that they wanted to stay and support him. He was particularly proud of the rookies' attitudes, which prioritized saving their fellow ninja over completing the mission. His father, Tsukumo Hitaki, did the same thing and was shunned for it. Eventually, Tsukumo committed suicide. Although Kakashi was saddened by his father's death, he simply allowed his self-loathing to override his true beliefs. He constantly attempted to instill that message in new genin, and after years and years of work, it seemed to have paid off. Nevertheless, he couldn't allow them to remain here, no matter how proud he truly was. Despite his assurances to himself, he began to form bonds with some of them because he didn't want to witness the death of another loved one. So he narrowed his eyes and said, I'm serious, Naruto. You should not play around with this man. He will kill you all without hesitation. As the mission's leader and a higher ranking Konohagakure no Sato ninja, I'm telling you to take Tazuna and get out of here. The best Junin in Konoha, Kakashi, was glared at by Naruto, who replied, that is one order I will gladly disobey, Kakashi. Smirking, Zabuza remarked, then you can die with him. Kurenai moved forward to assist, but Hinata was quicker, throwing 5 kunai at Zabuza, who blocked all of them with his free hand after grabbing his Zanbatsu and putting his sword on his back. He then created 2 more water clones, one of which charged forward and began fighting Kurenai, who easily matched it, while the other clone charged for Tazuna but encountered some difficulties. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A scream of fire style, Grand Fireball Jutsu, ended the clone, but 50 Narutos appeared in a puff of smoke and ran for Zabuza's clone, which was soon overrun with shadow clones. Zabuza's clone began swinging his sword wildly, killing shadow clones with each swipe. Zabuza squinted and remarked, don't get too excited about that. My power is 10 times that of Mizu Bunshin. From behind him, he heard someone say, then we just have to strike you 10 times as hard. Glancing over his shoulder, he saw Kiba, Naruto, and a clone of Kiba standing on the water, and the Kiba clones leapt forward, shouting, twin piercing fang. A frontal attack and an attack from behind. The only way out of this is. Zabuza thought as the 2 boys began rapidly rotating, turning into drills of power. They both attempted to swipe at him simultaneously, but turned away at the last second, and Zabuza immediately saw why. One of them fled forward and turned in a circle, swiftly aiming for Zabuza's torso, while the other turned backwards and turned in an arc to aim at his back. Thanks boys, said Kakashi as he surfaced after Zabuza finished his water prison and plunged into the water, barely avoiding the twin drills of destruction, which simply turned skyward and pushed off of each other, landing on the water. This is where I got it. Didn't that blonde punk use his shadow clones again? Zabuza asked. When Tazuna's Kiba and Akamaru exploded in smoke in response to his query, exposing 2 shadow clones, Zabuza remarked, I'm really starting to hate that blonde kid. He isn't just known as our village's #1 hyperactive knuckleheaded surprise ninja, Kakashi remarked. However, disregard Naruto. Kakashi then reached for his headband and pulled it up, exposing his left eye, which was a fully developed Sharingan with a black pupil and 3 tomo surrounding it. Your fight's with me now. Kakashi turned to face Zabuza and began performing hand seals, and Zabuza followed suit. When they were done, they both yelled, water style, water dragon jutsu. Massive water dragons emerged from the lake they were standing on and began fighting, but Kakashi's had a clear advantage because his was 15 feet tall and thick, while Zabuza's was 10 feet tall and thin. Kakashi's dragon easily defeated Zabuza's and slammed into Zabuza, who managed to recover and stand back on the lake's surface. Zabuza began to question what was wrong with his power as soon as he realized he had barely enough chakra to survive, and he cried out, what the hell is happening to my chakra? That would be my fault, Shino said, speaking from the lakefront. I got you with one of my Kikai bugs when you first attempted to attack Tazuna.san. She was a female Kikai bug. A specific pheromone released by the female Kikai bug can be followed for up to 10 miles by a male Kikai bug. They located you and sucked you dry after I gradually released my bug colony from my body. I commanded the insects to return to my body after you released Kakashi. Sensei. In any case, they exhausted you enough. It was Kakashi who said, "Good thinking, Shino." Narrowing his eyes at Shino, Zabuza swung his enormous sword and sliced Shino from head to toe, slicing through Kurenai and Naruto in the process. Naruto screamed, "Oh god, he murdered Shino, you bastard," Kiba screamed. When Hinata attempted to attack him with the gentle fist, Zabuza grabbed her wrist and held her hand high above her body, stretching out her arm, then cut it off, cutting her in half at the waist in surprise. Kiba then rushed Zabuza and attempted to fight him, but Zabuza ducked Kiba's claw strikes and punched Kiba with his free hand, cleaving him in two. In order to avoid Sasuke's fireball and Naruto's kunai, Zabuza leapt into the air, killed Sasuke, then proceeded to kill Naruto, slicing him from head to toe, killing the pink-haired Banshee and then Tazuna, leaving the ground covered in blood and body parts, just as he had done when he earned his Genin Hite.8. He turned around and grinned at Kurenai, who was grinning back, then felt excruciating pain. He was just struck by a very strong jutsu, and the water rushed over his body, knocking him against a tree. Before he could react, he saw Kakashi standing in front of him, headband down, and he said, "Did you like that little genjutsu Kurenai put over you? That is the closest you will ever get to harming Tazuna or the Genin, so I hope you did. This is where your life ends. Zabuza Momochi, demon of the hidden mist, good.bye." Zabuza slumped over, dead, and a hunter.nin appeared, saying, "Thank you for defeating him for me." Kakashi drew a kunai and hurried forward to kill him, but before he could reach him, 3 senbon appeared in Zabuza's neck. "Since I've been following him for some time, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to. Please pardon me while I dispose of the body." Before the hunter.nin could take Zabuza's body, Hinata questioned, "Why?" "Why what?" the hunter.nin asked. "What's senbon for?" Hinata asked. "Senbon are so tiny that your target could survive if you were even a tenth of an inch off. They're a rather inefficient method of murder. Additionally, according to hunter.nin protocol, the body must be destroyed immediately. You're lifting him up, but why? Your hands become incapable of performing any jutsu as a result." After recognizing Hinata's point, Naruto threw 3 kunai at the hunter.nin, who, realizing he had been discovered, made a one-handed seal and quickly shut himself out. "That isn't good," Kakashi remarked. "We don't even know how strong that hunter.nin is, and Zabuza is still alive. Zabuza might not be as strong as the hunter.nin. Fortunately, Zabuza will be sidelined for at least a week due to the injuries he sustained. That gives us a week to get ready for another fight with him," Shino stated. And that hunter.nin must have learned about our capabilities if he had been observing the entire conflict. "Why should we wait a week?" asked Sasuke. According to Shino, his bugs can follow the female for 10 miles. Before Zabuza has a chance to recover, we can simply follow the pheromones and kill them both. "We can't," said Shino. Regretfully, as soon as Zabuza was in full view, I called the woman back. "Why would you do something so foolish?" Sakura asked. "There aren't many women in my colony," Shino said, turning to Sakura. "My colony's population could drop significantly if that female died. Furthermore, I already had a few Kikai on Zabuza, and he was visible, so I didn't see the need to put the female in danger any longer since I knew where my enemy was." "You still did great today, Shino," Kakashi remarked. Naruto replied, "As long as we all come home in one piece, that's a victory in my book." "Come on, we've wasted enough time in this forest," Kurenai said. "Tazuna is most likely eager to return home with his family." It was Naruto who said, "Oh, he's already there." "What do you mean by, he's already there?" Kurenai asked, raising an eyebrow. "I ordered one to transform to look like Tazuna when I created the Shadow Clone Army, and I had 4 clones swiftly accompany the real Tazuna home," Naruto stated. "I know the way because one of them has already been dispelled." "Well, what are we waiting for?" Kiba asked. "Come on." After a 2-minute jump through the trees, Naruto reached Tazuna's house with the others right behind him. Part of Tazuna's house was built on land, while the other part was built over the water. A wooden walkway, 10 feet wide, surrounded the entire house, with a small port facing the ocean. Naruto and the others ignored the walkway and proceeded to the door, where he knocked. A shadow clone answered, narrowing its eyes and asking, "Who did we replace?" "Tommy Oliver," said Naruto. "They're the real ones, guys," the clone said, turning to face the other members of the household. After hearing a splash behind them, a clone leapt out of the water and onto the port, and one of them leapt off the roof and landed in front of them. Both of them dispelled the clones and gave the real Naruto their information. Naruto simply entered the room and saw Tazuna with his family, holding a kunai, which he pushed into his hands before sending him home. "I'm glad you guys made it out alive," Tazuna said. "Is Zabuza no longer alive?" Kurenai said, "Unfortunately, no, at the last minute, his skin was saved by an accomplice. Fortunately, we have a week before Zabuza launches another assault." After expressing relief, Tazuna remarked, "Where are my manners? I'd like to present my grandson Inari and daughter Tsunami to everyone." "Hello there," waved the blue-haired Tsunami. "I'm grateful that you saved my father's life." Naruto remarked, "What's his problem?" Inari simply glared at everyone and ran up to his room. Tsunami replied, "Forgive Inari, he's just going through a tough time." Shino placed his hand on Kakashi's shoulder and allowed his bugs to flow out, latching onto him and injecting him with some of the chakra they had obtained from Zabuza. "I discovered that ability a few weeks ago," Shino said, after Naruto waved it off and sat on the couch, followed by Kakashi. "You need this much more than my bugs because you must be exhausted from fighting Zabuza." "But won't your bugs require this chakra to survive?" Kakashi asked. "My body produces more than enough for them," Shino remarked. "I won't let them keep all of the chakra they used to drain Zabuza because that will make them gluttonous." According to Kakashi, "Thanks again, Shino." The boys all took one room while Hinata and Sakura took another, and when they put their belongings down, Kakashi called them back down, saying, "Since Zabuza's out there, we need to bump up your training," while Tsunami showed them their rooms while Kakashi was being recharged by the bugs. "Does anyone here know how to walk trees?" Kurenai glared at Kakashi and said, "Why didn't you teach them that, Kakashi?" All hands except Sasuke's and Sakura's went up. In their first month as genin, they were expected to discover that. "Don't you think I know that?" asked Kakashi. "Until they earn it, I won't teach them anything. And Shino is the only one who has earned it thus far. Kurenai, I'm not being partial, but they won't learn anything from me unless they follow my guidelines. Regretfully, I have to alter my lesson plan due to the circumstances. Anyway, Sasuke, Sakura, you two will work on the tree walking exercise with me this week. Who knows the water walking exercise?" Every member of Team 3 raised their hand in response to his query. "Shino, you will be learning the water walking exercise from Kurenai." "Well, damn, you guys are speeding through these chakra exercises. I guess you guys will have to do independent training," he said. "Additionally, we will be guarding Tazuna in shifts. There will be 2 shifts at a time. Although I can already tell who your partners will be, I would say that you were free to choose them. You will be watching Tazuna today, Lovebirds, Hinata and Naruto. You'll be watching his family tomorrow. You are off from guarding on Thursday. You'll watch Tazuna on Friday and the family on Saturday. You have another day off on Sunday. I believe Zabuza will attack on Tuesday, so we'll bring the family along and we'll all be watching over them. On Monday, you'll be guarding Tazuna once more. Sakura, Sasuke, you have today off. Tomorrow, you'll watch Tazuna. His family will be on Thursday. You have Friday off. On Saturday, you'll watch Tazuna. On Sunday, you'll watch the family. On Monday, you have another day off. On Tuesday, we're putting them all together. You'll be watching the family today, Shino and Kiba. It's free tomorrow. Tazuna is on Thursday, his family is on Friday, and Saturday is free. Tazuna is on Sunday, his family is on Monday, and we are all together on Tuesday. That is your timetable, and you will all follow it. No exceptions." To stay with Tazuna's family, Naruto, Hinata, Shino, and Kiba simply camped out at the house. Kakashi took Sakura and Sasuke to the woods to practice the tree walking exercise, and Kurenai taught Shino water walking by using the water around a portion of the house. That day, Tsunami and Tazuna agreed to remain in the house so that Shino, Kiba, Hinata, and Naruto could train. Team 3 set traps to catch anyone slinking in, and Naruto made some shadow clones to guard the house. Subsequently, the team decided to spar on the water to maintain their skills. When Inari came down the stairs and began glaring at the ninja, Naruto remained silent because Hinata kept drawing him in, but he was on his last leg with the little brat. The following day, Naruto and Hinata were up early and assisted Tsunami in the kitchen in preparing the meal for everyone. Tsunami had to go into town to get some lunch supplies after serving breakfast to everyone, and Naruto and Hinata accompanied her, giving them a brief glimpse of the extreme poverty of the people as they strolled through the city. "What the hell happened to these people?" asked Naruto. "Gato." Tsunami said. "How did it get this bad?" Hinata asked. "It wasn't this bad when Gato first came here," Tsunami said. "When we all awoke one day, we discovered that a house had been broken into. There were even more break-ins the following day. We eventually discovered that Gato was transforming our town into a shantytown. We attempted to combat him. We did everything we could. However, it was already too late when we made the decision to fight back. We were unable to hire ninja to assist us because Gato had spent all of our money. Nobody here has any knowledge of ninjutsu or fighting techniques. There was nothing we could do. Naruto looked around and saw how the people had just given up on life, with some lying down on the side of the road like they were waiting to be taken by death. The grocery store had very little food when they got there, so Tsunami took what she could and left. The situation of these people's lives was so hopeless that they were unable to leave as soon as Tsunami got the supplies she required. They moved to the trees to have a private conversation after they arrived at Tazuna's house and observed Kiba doing some light training. Naruto said, "Kiba, we gotta do something about the people in Wave Country." "What's wrong with them?" Kiba asked. "They have nothing, Kiba," Naruto remarked. "Gato took everything from the people when he arrived. He stole their money, their will to live, and their hope. These folks require our assistance." "But what can we do?" Kiba asked. "The Galactic Alliance of Evil has nothing to do with this. Can we assist with our ranger powers?" In a furious tone, Ukamisere uttered, "The fuck made you think you couldn't? You can't let something like this continue just because Rito isn't involved." As Naruto put it, "But we never talked about this. We shouldn't have had to," Takesere stated. Across the galaxy, Naruto, a Power Ranger, is a representation of peace and hope. The Power Ranger's mission is to make everyone feel less depressed and afraid. You can still be helpful even if the walking pile of bones isn't involved. "That's good," Naruto said. "However, now that we are able to assist, I believe it would be best if we visited Gato's place today. We have all day tomorrow to devise a strategy if we scout it today. Next night, we go out with Gato." "That sounds good to me," Kiba said. "He needs to be defeated, based on how you guys presented it." For the remainder of the day, the Rangers went about their daily business. That evening, they morphed and activated their step in dummies. They then proceeded through Wave Country in search of Gato's place, but as they did so, they discovered that the villages were in worse shape than they had anticipated. In fact, they saw people fighting over a loaf of bread. "This just ain't right," Wolf said. "We must assist." Falcon turned to Crane and said, "Hina. Crane, could you give us a little sneak peek at what's inside there?" We agreed, and after further searching, we found Gato's hideout. The more he and Hinata hung out, the more he had to watch what he said. He kept wanting to say, Hinata-chan, instead of Crane, which could give away their identities, and then shit would really hit the fan. Naruto mentally cursed himself out. They had been more careful about their codenames ever since their mission to Kumogakure. This was what they were supposed to call each other while they were suited up. In battle, he had to be extremely careful because the adrenaline could make him do something stupid, like shout out, Hinata-chan, instead of Crane. He also had to conceal his relationship with Hinata while they were wearing their suits because, according to Takesere, their vocabulary and accent already gave away too many clues about who they were. If someone was determined to find out, they might realize that they lived in Fire Country, and their fighting skills would hint at Konohagakure. If he and Hinata started acting romantic while they were suited up, it could give them away. Hinata had been worse, having called Naruto, Naruto-kun, since she was 8 years old. It was difficult for her to switch from Naruto-kun to Falcon, but she persisted because Naruto was going through the same thing as her, and she used the negative outcomes as motivation to succeed. "There are more than 150 thugs in there," Crane said, silently activating her Byakugan and peering inside the building. Additionally, a sizable portion of the space has metal walls. That's probably Gato's bedroom or office. There's so much money in underground that I can't even count it all. Down there, he has people chained up as well. "Do you know why the people down there are chained up?" Falcon asked. Crane paused, mumbled, "Oh my god," covered her eyes, and began to cry. Falcon, dropping all codenames and protocol, rushed to her and gave her a hug, asking, "What's wrong, Hinata-chan?" "They're selling them, Naruto-kun," she said. "All of those people are being sold into slavery by him." "There's a special place in hell for people like him," said Kiba angrily. "And we're operating the train that will transport him there," Naruto stated. "Just now, that idiot signed his death sentence. All right, team, scan the area for any defensive anomalies. When Takesere orders us to reassemble, we'll meet up here again." As it turned out, Gato's place was heavily guarded, and if they removed him, they would have to deal with more than 100 bandits who were on the payroll. Although killing Gato might be simple, the bandits could be a problem because Gato was their meal ticket, and removing him would force them to find another source of income, such as the village where Tazuna lived. According to Ukamisere, you need to scare them. "What do you mean, scare them?" Wolf asked. "Ukami's right," Takesere said. "You must frighten them into fleeing." The others will flee for their lives if you can murder a few of them and inflict enough bloodshed. Unfortunately, you will still need to kill someone. They pillaged this country and watched as people were sold into slavery, Falcon said, lowering his head. In my opinion, they ought to be put to death. The only people who knew everything about Naruto's childhood were the Hokage and Takeseire, and neither of them told anyone out of respect for Falcon's wishes, so Wolf and Crane were both taken aback by what Falcon said. It must have been a very painful point for him to say something like that, but he was always the level-headed one of the group, never letting his emotions get the better of him, and the fact that he didn't use his powers to decimate Waterfall Country because of what they did to Whirlpool Country was proof that he was shocked to be agreeing to kill someone. Unfortunately, Naruto is correct, Takeseire stated. A whole village of innocent people will perish if we don't take this action. Can you guys pull it off? Crane replied, I'll do it. It sucks, but I'll do it, Wolf said. Taking lives is never easy, Kijukisere said. Unfortunately, though, your job requires it. But before Naruto could sleep, he felt someone tapping him and heard a low voice say, Naruto.kun. The Rangers had finished gathering information and had made the decision to retire for the night, calling back their step, in dummies. When Naruto awoke, he exclaimed, Hinata-chan, what is it? Can we talk on the roof? Hinata asked. After nodding, Naruto said, what is it, Hinata-chan? And they leapt to the roof for a private discussion. Hinata replied, today, you said that those guys deserved to die. Naruto sighed. He knew this was coming. He allowed his feelings to take over for a moment, and he couldn't think about his mistake without his girlfriend's support. There was something about her that he both loved and hated. He wanted to figure out the solution on his own, but it was satisfying to know that she could read him so well and knew when he needed help, even though his pride prevented him from admitting it. I understand, and I'm sorry you had to hear that, Naruto said. Simply put, slavery is a sensitive topic for me. Why? Hinata asked. What took place? Gazing down at the roof tiles, Naruto uttered the words, I don't want to tell you. Why not? Said Hinata. Because I don't want you to be depressed, Naruto said. It's something I experienced. I don't want you to be depressed about it. Naruto closed his eyes and savored the moment as Hinata hugged him and said, the fact that you won't tell me is what saddens me. I am aware that there are aspects of your life that you would prefer not to share with me, Hinata said. I understand that it's a sensitive topic for you, even though I may not like it. I'll be here to listen whenever you want to share it with me. After stargazing for the remainder of the night, Naruto and Hinata fell asleep together. After teasing them for sleeping together, Kakashi woke them up the following morning and informed them that Tazuna was at the bridge with Kiba and Shino while Sakura and Sasuke were watching Tsunami and Inari. He then allowed them to continue their free day. It was a good start to a good day, and they decided to keep their control up with a little sparring and chakra exercises. Unfortunately, Fate made the decision to begin her menstrual cycle at that precise moment. Sakura, Sasuke, Tsunami, and Inari were right behind Tazuna, Shino, and Kiba as they ran into the house. Naruto took the initiative right away and exclaimed, what happened? Despite everyone's labored breathing, Kiba managed to exhale, Tengus. After waiting for everyone to catch their breath, Kakashi posed the same query that Naruto had. Someone came into town in the middle of the day, Tazuna said. Gato was on his back with him. In front of us, he killed Gato by throwing him to the ground. He severed Gato's head and hung it from a wooden stake before anyone could intervene. He asserted that Wave Country is his property under the name of a Rito man. Anywhere that Rito was mentioned couldn't be good, and Naruto's, Hinata's, and Kurenai's eyes widened. What did the guy look like? Kiba replied, like a Ninjetti warrior with a red uniform. It's unbelievable, Takeseire said. He's been successful. Succeeded in what? Hinata asked. He managed to subjugate one of us, Takeseire remarked. Since he captured us and severed our connection to the original Power Rangers, he has been making an effort. Dragon's plans were slightly delayed when he discovered us and destroyed his ship, but he succeeded. He is now fighting us with his own Power Ranger. Kurenai asked, what else took place? Those bird things, Tazuna said. With haste, Kiba said. Tengus. Tengus attacked the bridge, Tazuna said. They began destroying everything and launching these fireballs. Fortunately, none of my workers lost their lives, but it's unlikely that they will ever come back to complete the bridge. We're unable to complete it. They began attacking us when they discovered that we were ninjas, Sasuke said. Those birds are aiming for him now. This mission just got a lot more challenging, Kakashi stated. In the event that the Ninjetti warriors turn against us, we can no longer rely on them. The Ninjetti warriors should be viewed as adversaries unless we receive directives from the superiors. When Naruto heard the news, all he could say was, well, This sucks. In addition to being on Rito Revolto's side, there's another Ninjetti warrior. Rito could do the same thing to two other animal spirits, which would make the situation worse. It's possible that another Ninjetti warriors group was created specifically to murder them. To make matters worse, they were labeled enemies. Therefore, they would still have to battle Rito and their own team even if they change. The situation didn't appear promising. Kakashi simply called forth a dog and dispatched it to Konoha along with a letter addressed to the Hokage. According to standard shinobi protocol, they were to temporarily abandon the mission, notify the Hokage, and wait for further instructions if something unexpected occurred during the mission. In theory, they ought to have returned and informed the Hokage when the Demon Brothers appeared, but Kakashi showed the elderly man mercy. In addition, Kakashi likely believed that since there were only 2 teams, they could have completed the mission without encountering too many problems because there were 8 ninja on it. The mission difficulty has now passed them by. The Ninjetti warriors were featured in every bingo book in the elemental nations, despite their peaceful nature. Each of them and the team as a whole received 4 pages in the book. Individually, they were to be approached cautiously rather than violently because they were peaceful. The orders were to kill immediately if they turned the enemy against the ninja. According to their team page, they were instructed to leave immediately if they were all together and turned against the enemy. The Ninjetti warriors had to inform the Hokage that they were now enemies on this mission. Kakashi was unable to resist it any longer. He might kill them all, or he might deprive Kakashi and Kurenai of their rank and exile them from the village for purposefully endangering their genin. Naruto and the others realized they needed to take action 10 minutes after Kakashi sent the dog away. Their situation might worsen significantly if they didn't provide an explanation. They then transformed into their ninja forms, called out their step, in dummies once more, and departed. Right on the Hokage monument, they teleported. Then they leapt down to the road. They attracted everyone's attention as they strolled through the village. Some were applauding them and expressing their gratitude for repeatedly saving the village. The Ninjetti warriors were being jeered by some of the village's more Uchiha obsessed residents for their lack of concern for Sasuke and their treatment of him as the haughty, conceited genin that he was. The majority of the ninja were vigilant and keeping an eye on the Ninjetti warriors in case the village was in danger. The Ninjetti warriors entered the Hokage tower through the front doors and proceeded directly to the Hokage's office. "What do you 3 want?" asked the 2 Anbu on duty. "We need to talk to the Hokage," Falcon said. On the right, the Anbu stated, "Unless you have an appointment, no one sees the Hokage." The Anbu guarded doors opened, and the Hokage commanded, "Come in." Just past the Anbu, the trio of rangers intervened. The Anbu relaxed as they went through the doors. The Hokage's office door was equipped with unique seals that would notify the guards if anyone inside was using genjutsu. They were who they claimed to be because the door didn't alert them. "Aren't you 3 supposed to be in Wave Country?" the Hokage asked, shutting the door and activating the privacy seals. In order to reveal their faces, the 3 ninjas undid a portion of their masks. According to Naruto, "We are, but something bad came up." Says Sarutobi, "How bad?" According to Kiba, as in Rito Revolto bad. "What happened?" Sarutobi asked, his eyes narrowing and his voice tinged with rage. Kiba stated, "It turns out that Tazuna was lying. He needed protection from ninja, but could only hire us. His country was in shambles because this thug named Gato was draining their country and killing the people. We decided to continue the mission, but then Rito came in. He killed Gato, destroyed the part of the bridge that Tazuna was building, and attacked us." According to Hinata, and he also has a Power Ranger on his side. "But what do you mean?" asked Sarutobi. Naruto stated, "I mean that he found a way to make his own Power Ranger and used it. Now he has his own Power Ranger. When Kakashi Sensei heard about it, he ordered us to treat any Ninjetti warrior we see as an enemy. We just wanted to plead our side of the case." Sarutobi replied, "Don't worry. I'll send Kakashi a messenger telling him to trust you 3. But I will tell you this. You guys need to handle this other ranger business fast. If he causes a lot of damage, he could ruin your names. You need to make it clear that he's not with you and that you're against him and Rito." "Don't worry, old man. We can resolve this," Naruto said. Sarutobi replied, "Okay then, now get back to Wave Country and stop that Rouge Ranger." They all gave a nod, covered their faces with masks, and left. They teleported out of the village and returned to Wave Country, making sure that everyone could see them. "All right guys, spread out and try to find this guy. We have to take him out or he might ruin our reputation," Naruto said as they got there. The others gave a nod and departed. Wolf searched the town, Falcon searched the woods, and Crane searched the area around the bridge site. With Wolf hoping atop the buildings, Wolf searched for the Renegade Ranger. He hadn't seen much, but what he had seen made him wish he could have killed Gato if he had been alive. People were dying, starving, and being sold into slavery. That man would have to look up to see hell where he was heading. Hinata sent Wolf a message as he was jumping on the buildings. "Guys, I see him at the bridge." Falcon replied, "That's good, Hinata-chan. Don't do anything until we get there." Crane replied, "It's too late for that, he sees me, I have to fight back." Falcon replied, "Fine then, but morph into ranger form and stay put, I'm on my way." Before Wolf could get in touch with Okamisere to teleport him to Crane's location, a fireball struck him across the face. He was knocked off the rooftops and into the streets by the attack. He was surrounded by a force of 10 Tenga when he stood up. The villagers took off as soon as the Tenga touched down. They knew they had no chance after witnessing the Tenga's destruction of Gato's army. It's best to let the experts handle things like that. Another fireball sailed over Wolf's head, and he ducked. A fireball sped past him and nearly struck his side, but he missed the one that struck his back and leapt backwards. Wolf leapt into the air and transformed into ranger form in an instant. He swung into a defensive position and summoned his wolf lance. In an attempt to take him out with numbers, the Tenga all charged at once. After dodging a Tenga's claw strike, Wolf swung his lance back to strike a Tenga behind him. With a swift backflip, he reached out with his right hand's claws. He swiftly removed the Tenga by stabbing it in the chest. Out of the 9 Tenga left, 8 ran towards him. One of them stepped back and launched a powerful ball of flame. Wolf knocked the fireball back into another Tenga, eliminating that one from the battle when the Tenga released it. To escape the center of them, Wolf leapt backwards and then backflipped over a Tenga. The Tenga was forced to follow him as he fled down the road. Wolf eventually came to a small alley. The Tenga had to enter the narrow alley one at a time. It was exactly what Wolf desired. "Ion Geyser!" cried Wolf as he held one end of the lance and slammed the other end to the ground. The Tenga were barbecued and electrical geysers emerged from the ground as a result of the attack. In an attempt to reach Crane before it was too late, Wolf hurried out of the alley and began running toward the bridge. Alongside Falcon, Falcon was looking through the woods for the Red Ranger. He received a message from Crane a short time into his search. "Guys, I see him at the bridge." Falcon replied, "That's good, Hinata-chan. Don't do anything until we get there." Crane replied, "It's too late for that, he sees me, I have to fight back." Falcon replied, "Fine then, but morph into ranger form and stay put, I'm on my way." Falcon heard a rustling behind him just as he was ready to teleport to the bridge. He turned to look at the rustling and saw Kunai flying through the air and Sasuke standing there. Falcon leapt into the air, only to be pursued by others. Falcon swiftly soared above the Kunai. When he landed, he saw Sakura and Kakashi standing beside Sasuke. Kakashi responded, "Sasuke, Sakura, stay back. You have no idea what he's capable of. Let me handle this." Falcon replied, "Handle what? You just attacked me out of nowhere." Kakashi stated, "My orders are to kill you on sight if you turn against our village, which you've done." Falcon stated, "You're gonna fault me for what the Red Ranger did, he isn't even part of our group." Kakashi replied, "For all I know, you're lying. Regardless, I have my orders." Falcon replied, "So you're not gonna let me go? Fine then, I guess we'll have to fight." Kakashi charged Falcon as he transformed into his ranger form. Kakashi jumped over Falcon's attempt to sweep his feet out from under him and kicked him in the face. Falcon easily got back up after rolling on the ground. He kicked Kakashi in the stomach, knocking him back after blocking his fist. Falcon lunged forward, kicking Kakashi across the face and sending him sideways toward a tree. After pushing himself up with the tree, Kakashi charged Falcon once more. Falcon just managed to escape Kakashi's assault. He was slammed on his back and punched in the gut before he knew it. Sasuke was quicker than Kakashi when he began performing hand seals for jutsu. Fire style, Grand Fireball Jutsu. A massive ball of fire was exhaled by Sasuke. With ease, Falcon deflected the attack with his Falcon sword. "Slice them to ribbons, Takesere," Falcon said, holding his sword vertically. Thousands of tiny, glowing blades splintered from his blade. They surrounded Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura in a dome, obscuring Falcon's view. Waiting until he was half a mile away to drop the dome, Falcon leapt to the trees and took off. His sword's fragments all went underground and dug until they emerged 2 feet to his left. Then they put his sword back together. Naruto flew in the direction Crane had stated she was. With Crane had to search the bridge in order to find the Red Ranger. She found him in a short amount of time. Crane was unfortunately also spotted. "Guys, I see him at the bridge." Falcon replied, "That's good, Hinata. Chan. Don't do anything until we get there. Crane replied, it's too late for that, he sees me, I have to fight back. Falcon replied, fine then, but morph into ranger form and stay put, I'm on my way. Crane was unable to respond to Falcon because the renegade Red Ranger had chosen that moment to approach her. The Ranger was wearing a red spandex suit with white diamond patterns on the chest and white around the neck. 2 smaller diamonds were on either side of the largest diamond, which was in the middle of his chest. There was an ape emblem in the center of the large diamond, but it was black rather than gold like theirs. Like Crane's and Wolf's, his gauntlets ended mid-forearm, and his greaves ended mid-shin. They had red diamond patterns on the ends. His helmet roared like an ape. Only a small portion of the red extensions, which represented teeth, extended into the visor to avoid obstructing vision. There were yellow oval shapes that resembled eyes above the visor. The helmet was completed with a silver mouthpiece that mimicked the closed lips of Wolf's and Crane's uniforms. He continued, well, if it isn't the little pink ranger. Out on a walk alone. Where are your bodyguards? Crane spirit, ranger form, said Crane, crossing her arms in front of her. Her forearms were covered in pink lightning at the activation command. A ring of light encircled her as she shifted her arms to her sides, joining her 2 forearms. 2 hoops were formed by the lightning. The bottom one went to her feet, and the top one went to her head. They transformed her from ninja form to ranger form as they passed her body. Crane stated, the others aren't my bodyguards, I'm strong enough to take care of myself. As the ranger put it, really? Could have fooled me. Well, how about I show you, said Crane. Crane made the Red Ranger charge. He easily swatted away the punch she opened with. He also deflected her kick to the side of his head. Crane attempted 3 more blows, but each one was blocked. He jumped back, avoiding her attempt to kick him in the chest. With a sly smile behind her helmet, Crane called forth her crane bow. The Red Ranger ducked as she hurled an arrow at him. Crane continued to fire, but he continued to dodge the explosions. After a while, she struck him in the arm, but the blast only seemed to aggravate him. He replied, since you have a weapon out, I think it's only fair if I bring out mine also, ape sword. A claymore emerged in a tiny burst of red. The claymore measured 4 feet and 7 inches, or 55 inches, in length. The blade itself had 2 edges and measured 42 inches, 3.5 feet, in length. It was 6 inches across and was silver with a hint of red. Each side of the blade had a tiny indentation near the top. Devil May Cry's Rebellion served as the model for the blade. To view the blade, visit devilmaycry.wikia.com/wiki/rebellion. The handle itself was 13 inches long and entirely red. The ape emblem was in the center of each handle on either side, but it was entirely black, just like it was on the Red Ranger's uniform. I'll let you imagine how the other handles looked. The Red Ranger charged Crane while holding his sword in both hands. Crane began to shoot arrows at his head, but the Red Ranger slashed or blocked each one with his sword. Crane eventually entered the elemental arrows. She began to shoot the Ranger with freeze arrows. He had to leap into the air to dodge one she threw at his chest. Then she struck his left hand with another freeze arrow, freezing it as it struck. With the sword in his right hand, the Ranger charged Crane as soon as he touched down. Crane could now avoid the attacks more easily. He must not have been strong enough to wield his sword with one hand, Crane thought. Compared to when he used 2, the sword swings were much slower. The Red Ranger knocked Crane back with a punch to the chest, despite his ineffective use of his sword. Crane pulled out her bow once more and began shooting at him. She struck him much harder this time. He had previously blocked them with his sword, but now that it was useless, he was in a precarious position. Crane made the decision to shoot him in the chest with a blaze arrow to end their fight. The Red Ranger shifted his frozen left hand out of the way and grinned behind his helmet. His hand was both stung and released by the blaze arrow. In pursuit of Hinata, the Red Ranger took off. Many of her arrows were blocked or ducked by him as he ran forward. He eventually approached too closely for her to fire. Crane had to duck as he began to swing his sword at her. He raised his sword and cut Crane's bow, shattering it beyond repair. Before being slashed across the chest, Crane could only see the 2 halves of her weapon. The Rogue Ranger raised his sword to strike her once more as she hit the ground, but before he could do so, he heard someone yell, "Mega Claw." Wolf's quick action sliced the Red Ranger across his chest as he turned to face the source of the sound. Wolf held his lance in front of him and summoned it. Wolf swiftly charged the Red Ranger. After using his sword to block Wolf's swing, the Red Ranger kicked and twisted Wolf in the chest. Wolf dashed forward, launching a barrage of blows with his lance. Most of them were dodged or blocked by the Red Ranger. However, one struck him in the side of the head. The Red Ranger was sufficiently confused by the attack for Wolf to strike him squarely in the chest. The Red Ranger flew through the air after the hit. The Red Ranger had to stop Wolf's lance from slamming his head in when he got up on one knee. After forcing himself to stand, the Ranger gave Wolf a knee to the stomach. He gave Wolf a slight kickback before slashing him across the chest. Wolf fell hard to the ground after tumbling through the air. Panting, the Red Ranger stood there. He was tired, but he didn't show it. He was really worked out by those two. He was aware that much more was beyond his capacity. He needed to leave before the White Ranger arrived. "If this is the best you can do, this world doesn't stand a chance," he said, turning to face the other two Rangers. The Red Ranger teleported out after being engulfed in purple light. Falcon showed up 10 seconds later. "What happened?" he asked. Wolf stated, "The Red Ranger happened. He's incredibly strong." Falcon was saying, "Save your strength. Taka, Kijuki, Okami, get us out of here." With flashes of their colors, the Rangers rose. They showed up in the command center's infirmary. Kijuki rushed forward, looking like a woman with brown hair and eyes. "Naruto, lay them on the beds," she said. Seeing no reason to remain morphed, Naruto demorphed. He placed the two on beds after picking them up. Kijuki began healing Wolf while perched on a stool by his bed. Her hands were surrounded by a blue aura that enveloped Wolf's entire body. He was demorphed and as good as new after a few seconds. Naruto replied, "How did you do that? It takes Hinata a while to even heal half that much damage." Kijuki replied, "Really? I guess I'll have to up her training. But besides, I've been doing this for over 100 years and I have a lot of experience." Kijuki quickly demorphed and healed Crane after moving on to her. They both stood up fast. Kiba replied, "That new guy isn't someone to play around with." Hinata replied, "We got our butts kicked, and my bow was destroyed too." Kijuki replied, "Well, the new Ranger Part 1 can't help with. But we can do something about your bow, Hinata-chan." The fragments of Hinata's bow from their home planet materialized in Kijuki's hand as she snapped her fingers. Kijuki gave it her whole attention, and it fixed itself flawlessly. Taking it from her, she told Hinata, "Try to be more careful this time." Wolf replied, "How can we fight this guy? He took two of us down by himself." Okami entered the space. He stated, "Maybe you need to train harder. He shouldn't have been that much of a problem. But now isn't the time to worry about that. Now, we need you three to push Rito out of Wave Country. The longer he stays there, the more problems will arise." Naruto stated, "We're too stretched out to take him on at once. One of us has to watch the other Konoha nin since they're guarding Tazuna and he's a target of the Tenga. We also have to keep a watch on all of Wave Country in case Rito tries something. We don't have enough manpower to go around." Kijuki stated, "The Sandaime sent Kakashi a message about trusting you three. Maybe you can get some of the other ninja to guard the village. Also, there's 8 of them if you include your step. In dummies, they may stand a better chance." Naruto replied, "Maybe, but I still don't want to take that chance." Okami replied, "But anyway, I think you guys had better return to your mission. It looks like your team is about to get in a little bit of trouble." Running from the infirmary to the command center's main room, the Rangers gazed at the screen. It was an inherent feature of Dragon. With the screen, they could look almost anywhere. At the moment, they were watching Tenga attack their teams. They appeared to have attempted to retake the bridge but encountered a minor issue. Naruto replied, "Well guys, it looks like we got another battle. Let's go." The Rangers returned to their home planet via teleportation. By the time they reached the bridge, the battle was not going well. They were outnumbered 5-1 by the Tenga. The ninja also appeared to be growing weary. With Crane and Wolf at his heels, Falcon drew his sword and charged forward. Falcon made the quick decision to use a judgment cut to reduce the numbers. 3 Tenga were instantly hit by the attack. Then Falcon lowered himself slightly and swung his sword to rest it on his left shoulder. He directed his chakra toward his feet. The Falcon shouted, "Streak." Then he leapt forward, simultaneously releasing the chakra, which sent him hurtling forward. A Tenga was in front of him when he swung his sword outward, cutting it in two at the waist and splattering blood on the ground. Falcon noticed that he was directly within a Tenga's claw range when he landed. Instinctively, Naruto used another Falcon sword Kenjutsu-style technique. "Shuffle," he shouted. Falcon then directed his chakra toward his feet and pushed himself back, dodging the Tenga's attack. The Tenga was then sliced from its left hip to its right shoulder as he leapt forward and concentrated chakra into his feet once more. Crane shot a blaze arrow into a group of Tenga after pulling the string on her bow back. The Tenga all caught fire and turned their attention from fighting to extinguishing the fire. Then Crane killed a Tenga by shooting it with a standard arrow. Since Crane was the source of the flames, the other Tenga began shooting at him. A fireball came hurtling toward her, and Crane flipped around to avoid it. Then, to avoid another fireball, she did a graceful cartwheel to the side. She swiftly launched an arrow after landing, striking a Tenga in the mouth as it attempted to launch a fireball. And then she rolled away from another blaze. Crane continued to dodge their fireballs, shooting off arrows in that pattern. Wolf withdrew the claws from the gauntlets of his suits. He lowered himself to a crouch and put all of his weight on his right leg. His left leg remained fully extended in front of him. He shouted, "Wolf Fang Fist," as he used chakra to strengthen his hands. He ran to the Tenga and dismembered them all. The Tenga were all on their knees from their injuries when Wolf finished. Wolf split his lance in two after calling for it. He shouted, "Electro Boomerang," after concentrating chakra into each end. Each piece of staff, glowing and glimmering with electricity, was thrown by Wolf. Each Tenga was killed as the fragments advanced and cut through them. The pieces turned around and returned to him after traveling 20 feet. Wolf reconnected them after catching them. They managed to cut the quantity of Tenga from 40 to 10 with the Ninjetti warrior's assistance. A purple flash dropped someone behind the Tenga just as the Rangers were ready to eliminate the last of them. A shout of, "Rule the frozen lands, Gorosei," reached the Rangers. Following that shout, Falcon sensed someone standing behind him. When he turned to see who it was, he felt as though his judgment cut had been slammed into his stomach. Falcon was knocked off his feet and backwards. He turned to face his attacker, who was fighting Wolf while wearing a red costume. The Red Ranger. "I must have been attacked by him." Takesei replied, "Naruto, watch yourself. This guy isn't like other monsters you've faced. He's a ranger like you, but he won't hesitate to kill you." Falcon replied, "You say that as if I didn't know that already. Well, I'll tell you something you don't know. He's the Jinchuriki for the four-tailed lava ape," the Kyuubi said, interrupting their conversation. "He's the what?" Falcon asked. Takesei continued, "Unfortunately, the Kyuubi is right. All the Biju give off a certain aura that I can sense, and so do their Jinchuriki. I sense the aura on that ranger. He's a Jinchuriki, that much is certain." The Kyuubi replied, "And I can tell which one it is. Make no mistake, he is the Jinchuriki for the four-tailed lava ape. I can sense him giving off the power." Takesei said, "You'll need to watch him. It seems his ranger powers give him some manipulation with ice." Kyuubi continued, "And with his Biju, he inherently gets equal control over earth and fire. He can also combine them into lava style, so he has 4 different elements he can use on you. He isn't one to play around with." Falcon replied, "That's not good. By myself, I'm outmatched. By the way, what do I get from you anyway, Kyuubi? I have to put up with your ugly mug for the rest of my life. I should at least get something." In a voice that indicated that Naruto laughed, "You would usually get a giant fox form, a fox. Human hybrid form, enhanced strength, speed, senses, regeneration, immortality because of regeneration, the ability to pass all of it on to your children, and the ability to transfer all this to your mate or mates. But your father's seal not only holds me back, but prevents you from getting everything but enhanced healing." Falcon replied, "What the hell? I could have had all that, but wait a second, you know who my dad is?" The Kyuubi replied, "Duh. Anyone with half a brain cell can figure it out. Your dad is the Yondaime Hokage." Falcon replied, "What? Seriously? How come no one ever said anything? You look like a carbon copy of him. You have the same blood type. Hell, his frozen blood was used for all the blood transfusions you needed as a kid." As the Kyuubi said, anyone with half a brain cell could figure it out. Takesei immediately jumped into the conversation, saying, "It is pretty obvious, Naruto. He used to be called the Prankster King of Konoha, and the Sandame nicknamed you the Prankster Prince of Konoha. But you have bigger things to worry about than your daddy issues. The Red Ranger is handing Kiba his ass." Falcon snapped out of his reverie and returned his attention to the present when he saw Wolf engaged in combat with the Red Ranger and drew his sword. The Red Ranger drew his sword and attempted to slit Wolf. But Wolf deflected the Red Ranger's blade with his lance, and Falcon acted quickly, launching a judgment cut behind the Red Ranger's back as they engaged in a struggle for dominance. Wolf jumped back from the Red Ranger and regrouped with Falcon, and the two of them stood there waiting for the Red Ranger to attack. The Red Ranger was too preoccupied with Wolf to notice the attack, and the judgment cut blasted him, sending him to the ground. "Damn, I should have killed that mutt before the White Ranger entered the situation. I can't handle both of them at the same time by myself. I guess I have no choice but to use the overgrown monkey's chakra," the Red Ranger said, struggling to his feet after Falcon's attack. For a moment, the Red Ranger closed his eyes behind his helmet and drew in the power from the four-tailed lava ape. With the demon's energy coursing through him, he was able to quickly stand again. A red coating of demonic chakra covered his body, taking the shape of a 7-foot-tall ape, and lifting the Red Ranger off the ground. The Red Ranger put his sword away and concentrated the lava ape's power around him. "Wolf, be careful," Falcon said. "This man is also the four-tailed lava ape's Jinchuriki." "He's the four-tailed Jinchuriki and the Red Ape Ranger," Wolf said. "This is not good." Falcon warned, "Be careful, we're dead if we make one mistake." Wolf replied, "But with that chakra coating weighing him down, he should be slower." Behind them, they heard someone say, "Not exactly." But before they could turn around, they were both knocked off their feet, and Wolf flipped, turning to face his enemy, only to be kicked into a now recovering Falcon. It was only then that they realized the Red Ranger had disappeared from his original position. When they stood up again, the Red Ranger dashed in their direction, and Falcon drew his sword and struck the Ranger with a judgment cut, which was instantly followed by Wolf's electro boomerang. The two blows smashed and exploded against the Red Ranger's demonic armor, sending a great deal of smoke out of the area. When the end of his lance failed to return, Wolf was about to celebrate when he heard a shout that said, "Fire style, flame stream." With only a second to spare, the two Rangers managed to jump out of the way as a huge torrent of fire came through the smokescreen. The Red Ranger with his demonic coating was standing there, holding a piece of Wolf's lance inside the coating, and Wolf muttered, "Damn. Well, it appears that the overgrown mutt has lost his chew toy," the Red Ranger remarked. After that, the Red Ranger vanished and then resurfaced behind Wolf, smashing him into the ground and rendering him unconscious before declaring, "Now all that leaves is you." Falcon was shot in the head from behind before the Red Ranger could attack him, and when he turned around, Crane was there, shooting at him. "Didn't I beat you once?" Crane simply shot another arrow at him without responding to his question, and as the Red Ranger charged at her, Crane continued to shoot him with arrows, but they did no damage. Crane narrowly escaped the Ranger's punch before leaping back to gain more space, and the Ranger began to perform more hand seals, shouting, "Fire style, flame stream." A massive stream of fire erupted from his jaws once more, aimed directly at Crane, but before it could reach her, Falcon appeared beside her. He launched a judgment cut into the fire, but it only managed to hold back the attack. Naruto gritted his teeth and launched another, and then another, each time pushing the attack a little bit farther. Crane drew back her bow and fired a freeze arrow through the attacks that struck the Red Ranger. "With that bow of hers, she could shoot me with ice attacks whenever she wants. I gotta break that thing again." The freeze arrow's power knocked the Red Ranger back, and it appeared that the attack was beginning to weaken his demonic coating. After the Red Ranger stood up again, he had to dodge another arrow from Crane, who launched a barrage of arrows that completely missed the Red Ranger. Falcon raised his sword and commanded, "Slice them to ribbons, Takesere." His blade began to glow white and gold, then broke into thousands of tiny pieces, which flew forward but instead of cutting the Red Ranger, grabbed him like a hand and wrapped themselves around him like a coat, allowing Naruto to lift him into the air, where he was unable to escape, and he used the pieces to create a small opening exactly where the Red Ranger's body was before Crane withdrew and fired 10 freeze arrows at him. Every arrow flew through the air and struck the Red Ranger, causing his coating to get thinner and thinner until the sixth one wiped out his aura entirely. The other 4 arrows frozen him in place, and when Falcon saw this, he had his blade fragments fall to the bridge, where they returned and reformed Falcon's sword. With a sigh, Crane said, "It's finally over." "No, it's not," Falcon said. "He will emerge from there, and he is still alive." "What makes you think that?" Crane asked. According to Falcon, he is the four-tailed lava ape's Jinchuriki. He can control ice with his ranger powers, and he has earth, fire, and lava as the four-tailed Jinchuriki. He will use the chakra of the Biju to overcome that. The Red Ranger emerged from his captivity as promised by Naruto, saying, "Whitey, you and your little bitch right there are gonna pay for that. Rule the frozen lands, Gorosei," the Red Ranger commanded, summoning his claymore once more. "Thanks, you dumb broad," Crane said as his claymore began to emit an ice blue aura. Crane then shot another freeze arrow at the Red Ranger, but the Red Ranger's sword moved in the way, intensifying the ice blue aura. "My power was greatly increased by your arrow. Freeze in hell now." The Red Ranger slashed his sword horizontally, launching another attack, and before the Ninjetti warriors could stop it, Kakashi leapt in front of them, knocked them both back with a kick to the chest, and then began to perform hand seals while shouting, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." There were now 8 Kakashi instead of just one, and they all began performing the same hand seals while simultaneously shouting, "Earth style, Earth encampment wall." When the Kakashi placed their hands on the ground, 8 earthen walls rose up from the bridge, one in front of the other, creating a massive barrier to the Red Ranger's attack. The attack proceeded, destroying each wall but becoming weaker and weaker until it finally broke through all 8 walls, freezing Kakashi solid before he could replace himself. The Red Ranger simply laughed and remarked, "There goes one of the strongest nin Konohagakure has," as the ninja rushed to Kakashi's aid and defense. The only weapons capable of defeating the Tengu were Kakashi's lightning blade and his Tanto. It will be much simpler to take Konohagakure without it. You all might have lived longer if you hadn't made those pointless ninja excuses. After the Red Ranger vanished after being enveloped in purple light, leaving Kakashi motionless, Naruto stepped forward and began performing hand seals while shouting, "Fire style, Grand Fireball Jutsu." Kiba said, "Naruto, back up a little bit." He exhaled a massive fireball that struck Kakashi's icy tomb, but it had no effect. After that, Kiba leapt to the air and exclaimed, "Piercing Fang." Hinata took her turn, focusing chakra into her hands and trying a gentle fist strike against the ice, hoping her chakra would work its way into the ice and break it down from the inside, but it was in vain. Nothing they did could save Kakashi. Kiba began twisting like a tornado, becoming a torpedo of force. He pounded against the ice block, but nothing happened. Falcon thought, "What's going on? The metal my sword is made of is indestructible. It should have been able to slice through this like a hot knife through butter." He stepped forward and attempted to use his sword to cut through the ice, but it didn't break. Shino replied, "Maybe you could use your judgment cut ability." "If I could, I would," Falcon said, turning to face Shino. "Fighting the Red Ranger was a waste of energy. As it is, I can hardly stand." "Good riddance," said Sasuke. "What did you say?" Falcon asked as he turned around. "Good riddance," said Sasuke. "Both as a person and as a sensei, he was a failure. I learned nothing from him. Because the Red Ranger killed that bastard, I owe them one. If I could move right now, I would kick your ass for even saying something like that," Falcon said, glaring at Sasuke from behind his helmet. When Naruto said, "Then allow me," before Sasuke could realize what was happening to him, Shino stepped forward and kneed him in the face, knocking him unconscious, saying, "The reason Sasuke didn't learn anything is because he didn't earn it." Naruto then came up and punched Sasuke in the nose, breaking it easily. Sakura didn't there either. They're both shinobi failures in my opinion. This is what Crane said, "Let me try something." After drawing back a blaze arrow and focusing half of her remaining energy into the shot, Crane said, "If I keep hitting it like that, I should be able to free him, but I don't have the energy for it now." The attack sailed forward and struck the ice block, shattering a portion of it. "I understand," Kurenai said. "Give yourself as much time as you require." Crane picked up the fragments of his lance and walked toward Wolf, placing a hand on his chest before teleporting both of them out. "Falcon apologized for not being able to assist you further, but we need to ascertain Rito's plans. We have to go." The ninja were left there with the frozen remains of Kakashi Hitaki when Falcon teleported away. At the base of Rito, when the Red Ranger landed at Rito's base, he said to himself, "Good, now I can take this damn helmet off. It's hot as hell in that thing." The Red Ranger, who had on a red shirt with a black ape on the front, black cargo pants with a red stripe down the side, an earring in his left ear, 2 katana sheaths on his back, and brown hair that reached his shoulders, crossed his arms in front of him and then threw them to his sides, forming 2 red rings that demorphed him. "Whether it's hot in that thing or not, you did good out there, Simon," Rito said as he emerged from down the hall. With narrowed eyes, the Red Ranger declared, "It's semen." "Oh," Rito said, "all right. In any case, well done on eliminating those power punks." "No problem," the Red Ranger, who is now Seaman, said. "Additionally, I eliminated Sharingan Kakashi. He put himself in danger to save everyone else, as you mentioned. Well thought out, Master Rito. Konoha will be open for capture in Kakashi's absence." "Really?" Rito asked. "That wasn't even on my mind. So why did you send me to take him out?" Seaman asked. "Why not make Konohagakure no Sato weaker?" With a shudder, Rito uttered, "His eye freaks me out." This, from the skeleton general, Seaman thought. "Anyway, I need to rest for a bit," Seaman said. "It's true that those power losers are capable of fighting hard." "You're doing the wrong thing," a voice inside his head told him as he made his way to his own room in Rito's Moon Palace. "It will only lead to problems if you align yourself with that piece of bone." In response, Seaman said, "Shut up. You are the reason my former life has been destroyed." The Yanbi replied, "If you ally yourself with him, you won't have a world to go back to. A world that mistreated me, wounded me, and treated me like garbage, Seaman remarked. I'd like to watch it burn down. Perhaps they'll understand that they shouldn't have betrayed me when they're facing death. According to the Yanbi, revenge is never the answer. I'm not looking for one, Seaman stated. All I want is for those snobbish idiots in Iwagakure to suffer. You're traveling down a hazardous road, Seaman, the Yanbi said. I only hope you come to terms with it before it's too late. Whatever, you overgrown monkey, Seaman said. Now you're just making me angry. This world treated me like trash. Now they'll pay tenfold for what they've done, Seaman said, interrupting his biju. Returning to their base, Falcon yelled loudly as he removed his helmet and threw it to the ground. Damn it! How could we have let that happen? Exclaimed Kiba as he transformed. Hinata stated, we did the best we could. At least we found a way to free Kakashi-san. All we have to do is wait for me to regain my energy. Naruto was saying, but what's to stop him from doing the same thing later? What's to stop him from going to Tazuna's place right now and freezing the house over? Kakashi can't be on the lookout 24/7. With the Tenga the Red Ranger attacks with, we're stretched too thin. Kiba replied, Naruto's right. This time, they attacked with Tenga. What's to stop them from attacking with a monster next time? The Red Ranger can take on 2 of us alone and none of us are strong enough to take a monster on alone. Hinata replied, if only we had another ranger to fight with. Yeah, Naruto replied, if only we did. Kiba let out a sigh. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to sleep. Maybe sleep will get rid of the memories of this battle. Naruto and Hinata hurried after Kiba as he left the main room to head to his room. The spirits were listening in on their conversation as they spoke. Don't you think that it's time? Takesere asked, turning to face the dragon spirit. The dragon spirit replied, I don't know. The kid's been through a lot of trouble in his life. I don't want to stress him further, he might break. Okamisere responded, Dragon, I've seen this boy, and trust me, he won't break anytime soon. He has a farther breaking point than Naruto, and Naruto's been through hell and back. If Naruto can handle this, he can too. Dragon replied, but he isn't like Naruto. Naruto has so much chakra his body naturally heals itself. My Chosen has nowhere near Naruto's chakra reserves. Kijukisere continued, but he doesn't need it. He can keep up with most of his age group. His level of taijutsu passes most chunin, and I've never seen anyone who trains as much as he does. According to the monkey spirit, she's right, that kid is strong. Dragon replied, fine then. I didn't want to bring him into this, but it seems we have no choice. So we all agree? It's time for a fourth? Takesere asked. All right, then. Naruto knows who the boy is. I'll have him get him when Naruto wakes up. I'm pretty sure that Hiruzen could help find him, Takesere said in response to the other nods. Naruto woke up earlier than everyone else the following day. When he got to the main room, he was about to beam himself down to a random town to buy breakfast when he was stopped. Naruto. Takesere. What's up? I have something I need for you to do. What's up? I was about to grab some food before I went training. After watching your battles recently, me and the other spirits have decided to recruit a 4th ranger to help you. Really? Sweet. I guess Dragon decided to call his recruit here? Yeah. And the timing couldn't be better. The Red Ranger is too strong to be taken out by just the 3 of you, so I need you to get him. Gotcha. I'll have him here in no time. Good luck, Naruto. Naruto teleported to his home after getting his assignment. He transformed into his ninja form inside and leapt to the sky. Everyone's eyes were on him as he flew in the direction of the Hokage Tower. Falcon noticed the ninja were tense around him. The old man told them not to mess with us, but I suppose they aren't listening. Well, whatever. They're unable to bring me up here. Falcon flew to the Hokage's office and knocked on the only window. Regretfully, Sarutobi was not present. After landing, Falcon proceeded to the council chambers. He noticed that there was a council meeting going on because the doors were closed. I don't want to bother you, but when have I ever followed the rules? Everyone in the meeting was shocked when Falcon kicked open the doors. He ignored them and said, I need your assistance, Hokage. Sama, as he approached Sarutobi. Can it wait? I'm kind of in the middle of a meeting, Sarutobi said. Falcon replied, if the life of the last Uchiha can wait, then fine. Falcon grinned behind his mask as the whole civilian side began shouting that the meeting should be postponed until their business was finished. If you mention that the Uchiha are having problems, they will go to great lengths to help. Sarutobi activated the security seals and hurried to his office with Falcon. Sarutobi replied, what's so important you had to interrupt a closed council meeting, Naruto? Falcon replied, I need to find a genin by the name of Rock Lee. What for? asked Sarutobi. You remember the business with the Red Ranger? Falcon asked, and when Sarutobi nodded, Falcon went on. Sadly, we need help to defeat him. We need another ranger. And Lee is supposed to be this fourth ranger? Asked Sarutobi. Yeah, Falcon replied. Sarutobi let out a sigh. He really was growing too old for this position. He replied, fine then, but we'll have to bring Guy in on this secret also. He treats Lee like a son, so he would find out sooner or later. All right, then. Call them in, Falcon said. When Sarutobi snapped his fingers, an Anbu team materialized. Bring me Maida Guy and Rock Lee, Sarutobi said. The Anbu team vanished and reappeared a short while later. Sorry sir, we couldn't find them, they said. Oh shit. Said Sarutobi. Falcon, follow me. Naruto followed closely behind Sarutobi as he hurried to the mission center. Iruka was sitting there when Sarutobi arrived at the mission center. Sarutobi replied, Iruka, has Team Guy received any missions outside the village? Iruka quickly located the information after noticing the Hokage's distress in his voice. Hokage. Sama, Team Guy is on a mission right now. Where to? Asked Falcon. Iruka turned to face the Hokage and asked him in a low voice if he should reveal such information in front of Falcon. Iruka assumed that Sarutobi wanted him to go on because the Hokage's impatient expression didn't change. Iruka explained, they were sent to Juichi Town in Bird Country to eliminate an illegal gambling ring. How long is their mission expected to last? Asked Falcon. Iruka stated, the mission is expected to last for another week. Can it wait a week? Sarutobi asked, turning to face Falcon. Falcon replied, I'm not even sure it can wait a single day, Hokage. Sama. They're in Juichi Town, I guess that's where I'm going to. Hokage. Sama, can you give me a little help? Sure, replied Sarutobi, but we have to return to my office. Prior to Sarutobi and Falcon leaving, Iruka asked, Hokage. Sama, why do you need to know the location of Team Guy? Falcon replied, that, Iruka.san, is a secret. If we tell you, we'll have to kill you. And finding teachers that aren't biased is very hard to do these days. Sarutobi's office was swiftly reached by Falcon and Sarutobi. Sarutobi wrote a message scroll to Guy there, informing him that Falcon was to support them so they could finish their mission more quickly. When Sarutobi finished writing the scroll, Falcon said, thanks, old man. Just stay safe out there, Naruto, said Sarutobi. Sarutobi was left to his porn as Falcon swiftly teleported away. With Kiba and Hinata, Naruto was nowhere to be seen when Hinata and Kiba awoke. They searched far and wide for him but were unable to locate him. They finally made the decision to consult the spirits. Kijuki-seirei, where is Naruto? Asked Hinata. According to Kijuki, he and Takei-seirei had to go do something. How long will they be gone? Asked Kiba. Kijuki replied, no idea. It depends on them. They might be gone for an entire day. Kiba replied, an entire day? Couldn't they have chosen any other time to do this? We're in deep shit and we need the entire team now. Okami made the decision to show up. He stated, it's about this entire Red Ranger crap. If they can finish what they're trying to do, then the Red Ranger won't stand a chance against us. So all you two have to do is hold the fort until they come back. According to Hinata, that's a lot easier said than done. In the town of Juichi, as Falcon landed in Juichi Town, he immediately searched for his fellow Leaf Nin. When Naruto couldn't find them, he thought, Takei-seirei, I have no idea where they're in Juichi Town. Don't worry, Naruto. Let me contact Dragon for a minute. He said that they are 2 miles northwest of your location. Thanks, Takei-seirei. Falcon leapt into the air and headed northwest in search of Team Guy. He flew for a few minutes and eventually located them. Guy's group was attempting to blend in as they strolled down the street. Just as Naruto was ready to land beside them, he noticed that they were missing their headbands. They must be undercover. If I touch down right next to them, it would completely blow their cover. I have to go undercover also. But how? If I go down there without my mask on, my identity is shot. You got any ideas, Takei-seirei? Sorry Naruto, you're on your own. Solve this one yourself. Consider it a growing exercise. You know, I'm really starting to hate this entire approach you have to helping me. I think I might have it. Naruto demorphed after flying down to an empty alley. After that, he entered the nearest store and put on a henge. He purchased black pants, black shoes, black hair dye, and a brown shirt for himself. All right. The clothing will ensure that Tenten, Lee, and Guy won't recognize me. Naruto then retreated into the alleyway. The hair dye will ensure that I'm not recognized by Neji. All I need to do is make sure he doesn't see my eyes or it will give me away. He undressed and changed into the new clothes he had purchased. Then he applied the black hair color. Naruto thought to himself as he looked in the mirror, damn. Black hair suits me well. Perhaps this is the way I should always wear my hair. Hinata would never pursue it, I'm afraid. Anyway, you need to move. Naruto set off down the street, but he was unable to locate Team Guy. Naruto began searching the area for them. Naruto thought, perhaps a bird's eye view would be better, as he noticed a ladder close by. Reaching the ladder, Naruto ascended the building it was adjacent to. He began scanning the crowds and discovered Team Guy a few blocks away. Subtly, Naruto fell to the ground and began to follow them. With Guy's team, Guy and his group had just been inside Pablo Escobar's illicit gambling ring for a few days. In order to have evidence against them should they choose to report him to the police, the man made them play a few games against their will and had them recorded. Regretfully for him, the police had hired them to be undercover. Some of the security tapes were taken by Guy and his group after they broke into the surveillance room. The evidence required to put Pablo in jail for unlawful gambling was found on the security tapes. Guy and his team had just returned from delivering the tapes to the mayor, who thanked them and asked that they bring him in the following day. Guy and his group were strolling down the street to their apartment, which the mayor of Juichi Town had covertly funded. He sensed someone reaching into his pocket as they were strolling. Guy would have quickly grabbed the man's arm and broken it if he hadn't spent years working undercover. However, Guy allowed the man to take from his pocket because he had been undercover as a civilian numerous times before. What was strange, though, was that the man didn't steal anything instead, he slipped something in his pocket. He was then pushed to the ground by the man, who fled. Tenten grabbed Lee's arm as he was about to pursue, saying, "Don't. You might get hurt, he might be armed." "We're undercover, you moron. If you chase him, you'll blow it," Tenten said, leaning in to whisper. With a sheepish expression on his face, Lee uttered, "Oh yeah, I forgot." Neji glanced at the man running and silently activated his Byakugan. Neji could easily see through the man's henge. He also noticed that the man had a lot of chakra and black hair. He had enough to easily match any Konohagakure Junin. Whoever did this must have been a ninja, Neji thought. There are no civilians with that much chakra. Guy stood up again and made the hasty decision to go. Guy thanked the people around him for their promise to tell the police what had happened. Guy replied, "There was something different about that guy. He didn't steal anything from me." Neji responded, "That doesn't make sense. Why would he shove you and take off, but not take anything? Do you think he was running from someone?" Tenten replied, "He couldn't have been. There were a lot of people behind us. If he was running from someone we would have heard the people behind us yelling about him pushing them out of the way. He started as soon as he pushed Guy Sensei out of the way, that's for sure." Guy replied, "For now, let's get back to our room. We'll think this over when we get there." The group proceeded to their apartment, which featured a distinct space for each member. Guy found the item the pickpocket had slipped in his pocket when he was by himself in his room. It was a scroll bearing the Hokage's seal. "Guy, first of all, this scroll is confidential, so nobody, especially your genin team, should see it. You and your team need to return to the village immediately because of certain situations, so I called on the white Ninjetti ranger to help you finish the mission. I expect you and the ranger to finish this mission the day you receive this scroll and head back to the village. You need to return quickly, so act quickly. The white Ninjetti ranger should contact you regarding when to finish the mission. Sarutobi Hiruzen, Hokage Sandame." All right, Guy thought, but how am I going to meet him? There isn't really a postal address for the Ninjetti warriors. Hold on a second, there's a postscript beneath the genjutsu. When Guy noticed that the handwriting in this section of the letter was different from that in the previous sections, he broke the genjutsu. "Guy, the Hokage asked me to contact you, so we will meet at the clock tower in the middle of town at 2 p.m. today to talk. I'll make sure I don't get caught entering, but you must do the same to keep your cover intact. Ranger White Ninjetti." Guy hurriedly informed his team that he was heading to the store to get some groceries before making his way to the clock tower through the streets. With Hinata and Kiba, in order to iron out as many kinks in their fighting techniques as they could, Kiba and Hinata were training in the virtual reality room. Although it was progressing slowly, they were able to develop their existing methods. They intended to spend the entire day working on that, but before they could do so, a siren blared loudly. Both Kiba and Hinata dashed from the VR room to the command center's main hall. They noticed that a group of Tenga were flying over the road to Tazuna's house when they turned to face the TV that was mounted on the wall. Both Crane and Wolf teleported directly in front of the house. Wolf went to the door and knocked, warning the ninja inside of the issues outside, while Crane began searching for the Tenga force she knew would arrive. When the ninja emerged, Wolf had taken out his lance and was walking next to Crane, who had her back to them. When Wolf said, "Trouble's coming." 5 minutes later, the ninja emerged after hastily putting on all of their equipment. The Tenga emerged in the sky as soon as the ninja emerged. They began hurling fireballs in an attempt to demolish Tezuna's home. To combat the fireballs, Hinata drew back the string of her bow and began firing arrows. Kurenai began to scream, "Shinobi, attack the Tenga. Let the Ninjetti warriors handle the fireballs." In an attempt to hit the Tenga, the ninja all began throwing shuriken and kunai into the air. The ones that did land caused significant damage, but many of their weapons missed. The Tenga temporarily stopped shooting fireballs after some of the kunai struck them in the chest. The Tenga fell to the ground and died as a result of others striking them in the wings. They began shooting down the Tenga gradually but steadily. Hinata was able to assist the ninja in taking down some of the Tenga because she had to block fewer fireballs as the ninja shot down more. When all was said and done, Tezuna's house sustained only minor damage as the ninja and Ninjetti won. However, they heard what sounded like a loud jet before they could celebrate. Gazing up at the sky, they witnessed a cyber Tenga emerge and begin pelting fireballs. Unfortunately, nothing short of Crane's freeze arrow could stop these fireballs because they were far more powerful than typical Tenga fireballs. Despite his best efforts, Wolf was unable to completely block them. He was more of a fighter at close quarters. Wolf called out, "Crane, change into your ninja form and fly up there. Tackle the cyber Tenga and get it down here." Crane did it. In a matter of seconds, she transformed into her ninja form and flew to the Tenga. She barely noticed the sting in her hand as she punched the Tenga in the chest. After avoiding the Tenga's fireball, Crane began performing hand seals. "Bunshin no jutsu," she cried. Then Crane multiplied by 10. "Lightning style, lightning palm," was shouted out after each of them began performing hand seals. They got lightning all over their right hands. They all rushed forward, attempting to hit the cyber Tenga. Regretfully, the Rangers failed to investigate the cyber Tenga's additional enhancement. The mechanical eye of the creature was immune to genjutsu. Thus, the cyber Tenga was aware of which Crane was the actual Crane all along. After activating its claws, the Tenga launched tiny purple crescent blasts from them, striking Crane and sending her plummeting from the sky. Naruto and Hinata both rushed out to catch Crane as she fell, preventing her from hurting herself when she struck the ground. Wolf drew out his lance and narrowed his eyes. He split the lance in two, then applied electricity to each half. "Electro boomerang," he exclaimed, then tossed the two parts. The lance's two halves shot skyward in the direction of the Tenga. The Tenga simply grinned and raised its cannon. One was struck by the cannon, and the other was struck by the Tenga's fireball. Wolf received both halves back, caught them, and remade his lance. "There's no way for me to stop that thing," Wolf thought. "It will demolish Tezuna's home." Wolf was fortunate that the step in dummy Naruto shared many characteristics with the real Naruto. After sprinting up a tree, Naruto directed his chakra into his feet and leapt into the air. At the peak of his leap, he executed a cage bunshin, which caught him and lifted him into the air. He continued in that direction until he passed over the cyber Tenga. Then, in the air, Naruto created hundreds of cage bunshins. They all began to fall in the direction of the cyber Tenga. Despite their best efforts, the cyber Tenga was unable to eradicate all of the Narutos. The Narutos began seizing anything that had anything to do with the cyber Tenga. Gradually, they began dragging it down with them. Crane, who had partially recovered from her fall, switched to ranger form and drew her bow when the Tenga was around 10 feet in the air. The strongest lightning arrow she could muster was then charged and hurled at the cyber Tenga. The step in dummy was fortunate to fall off the Tenga before the arrow struck. When the arrow struck the cyber Tenga squarely in the chest, its jetpack malfunctioned. They put it into overdrive and launched it into the air. The jetpack exploded after the Tenga had flown upward for 100 feet, taking the Tenga and all of the clones with it. Then, with Wolf following closely behind, Crane teleported herself to the infirmary. With Naruto reached an alley after running through the streets. Hopefully, Guy will notice the postscript I left on the scroll, Naruto thought. I'm going to have to head to the clock tower now. After that, Naruto teleported to the alley close to the clock tower. Naruto quietly and unobtrusively left the area. Naruto hurriedly opened the door and went up the stairs. Naruto began removing all of his recently purchased clothing as soon as he arrived and putting on his old attire. Pretty good plan, Hatake-sere? No, it was foolish. Imagine what would have happened if a city police officer had been watching that. You could have become the city's biggest enemy and been pursued by every police officer. Furthermore, What if Guy's team had just finished the mission and was still unable to change into their normal attire? They would have given you your ass regardless of whether they blew their cover or not. Also, with stealing from Guy you could have ruined their cover. What if they were supposed to be enforcers or something like that? Letting someone pickpocket them would make it harder for them to finish their mission. Oh shit. I didn't think about that. I know, which is why you have to start soon, or you're gonna start writing checks your ass can't cash. This isn't a game, Naruto. You have to start thinking about your decisions wisely before you act. Fine then. Spoil sport. With haste, Naruto transformed into his ninja form and put on the last of his clothing. Guy entered through the clock tower's bottom door 10 minutes later. Hovering over Guy, Falcon leapt down the stairs and took off. His voice said, "Guy, up here." Guy sprinted up to the clock tower's top floor, placing his foot against the wall. "You wanted to see me?" he asked. "I hope you read the scroll I left you," Falcon said. Guy replied, "So it was you who pickpocketed me." "I'm not sure if it's called pickpocketing if I don't take anything," Falcon said with a small laugh. Guy replied, "Yeah, I read the scroll. So how will we go about it? The Hokage wants me and my team back at the village ASAP." "Well, what's your cover?" Falcon asked. Pablo was operating his gambling ring later that day. He observed the gamblers while standing on a balcony. These idiots aren't even aware that the games are fixed, Pablo thought. They believe that they will earn some money, but my people crush them and steal all of their money as soon as they start to win and feel better. It pays to be bad, huh? The concept was thriving. After attempting to triple their life savings, all of these individuals lost everything they had. Pablo began to mentally sing to himself because it was such a lovely scam. "I am blessed by the Lord, thus, I give thanks to the Lord. For providing me with the necessities, my gambling ring's earnings. Yes, he has treated me well. I owe the Lord a great deal. For all I observe, because the Lord is at my side. My funds will continue to grow. Yes, he has treated me well. Here I am beneath the azure sky, following my wishes. Spending time with my dubious pals, or embezzling people's money. I awaken each day, as joyful as possible, because I am aware that right now I am the king of this city. Oh, I've been blessed by God." Even better was the fact that he had a new bodyguard. Pablo had 5 bodyguards at first, but this new one beat them all up by himself. For even better protection, he now paid a fifth of the price. He was once again singing to himself about the money he would make from that. His hired bodyguard was staring at the clock across from them while he sang to himself. The time was 4:44. The sun would be nearly set at 4:45. At precisely 4:20, a figure entered the warehouse through the doors. The guard at the door checked the man and found that he had a lot of money but no weapons. Upon entering, the man stealthily took the guard's wallet and entered the warehouse. With haste, the man approached the bar and began to drink. He went to the tables and began to play after having a little to drink. The man checked quickly and discovered that the servers were cheating. The man thought, that will make this a whole lot easier. Even the man began to cheat. For him, chakra was a huge advantage. He was also morally correct because the table runners were defrauding themselves. The man quickly increased the guard's 300 ryo to 4,500 by using chakra to trick the cheaters. He noticed the man behind the table was perspiring a little as he began to win more. The mystery man doubled his 4,500 after a few more games, and the table runner had had enough. The fact that his methods of cheating weren't working suggested that the person who was weeding him out was also cheating. The guards circled the unidentified man after he motioned them over. The unidentified man had on white gloves, black shoes, and black pants. In addition, he had the hood up on his white hoodie. The man's identity was concealed by the shadow the hood cast over his face as he gazed at the table. "All right, buddy, it's time to join us," one of the guards said. The unidentified individual replied, "Okay then sir, but could you please tell me what time it is? I'll have to be getting home to the missus soon." A different guard remarked, "It's 4:45. With his hands holding his head up, the unidentified man said, "Thank you." Then the unidentified man swiftly spread his arms as far to his sides as they would go. Smoke bombs popped out of the sleeves, hitting the ground beside him and creating a massive smokescreen. Everyone in the warehouse was startled by the explosion, but a guard's agonized screams sent everyone into a panic. The white Ninjetti ranger in ranger form was seen battling and eliminating every guard as the smoke cleared. Pablo screamed and nearly passed gas in a panic. "Master Pablo, follow me quickly. We must get you to the panic room," his bodyguard said. Pablo swiftly grasped his bodyguard's hand as the terrified Pablo was led to the panic room by the bodyguard. Pablo was swiftly placed in the panic room by the bodyguard, who then went inside himself. The bodyguard turned on the room's electricity and locked the door. There was money and food in the room. Pablo replied, "Thank you, I'm sorry. What is your name again?" His bodyguard approached him and apologized. "Oh, I'm sorry. In all the chaos, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Maeda Guy. Junin of Konohagakure no Sato. You're under arrest for the operation of an illegal gambling ring." Pablo let out a cry and dashed in the direction of the panic room's lone window. Pablo intended to flee by jumping to the building next door. Fortunately for him, he could hop to the other building because it wasn't that far away. Pablo barely managed to jump from rooftop to rooftop as he ran across them. Pablo stopped, wiped his perspiration from his brow, and exclaimed, "Phew! I'm glad that's over," after failing to notice Guy pursuing him from behind. The question, "Now what makes you think you're home free?" was spoken in front of him. When Pablo looked up, he saw the white Ninjetti ranger hovering close to the building's edge in his ninja form. In a panic, Pablo attempted to flee but ran into someone. He looked up and saw Guy. Pablo began scanning the area for any chance to escape his predicament, but Falcon sliced him in the back of the neck before he could flee. "Good going, Falcon. What should we do with him?" said Guy as he lifted him up. Falcon continued, "We're dropping him off to the mayor, but what we should be asking ourselves is what we're gonna do with all that money in his panic room." "Are you suggesting we steal it?" Guy asked, squinting at Falcon. Falcon replied, "Yeah. He's going to jail. What would he be using this money for except to buy a lot of lube?" "I like the way you think. All of us get a 1/10 of it while the rest goes to Konoha?" Guy said with a quick smirk. Falcon stated, "A 1/4 goes to Konoha. A 1/4 to Juichi Town. 1/10 to all of us." "Deal," Guy said. Guy then vanished into smoke, exposing himself as a cage bunshin. Falcon hurried to the panic room and dispersed the funds as he and Guy had decided. Falcon proceeded to City Hall, where 5 armed guards were stationed. After ensuring Pablo would survive, Falcon dropped the scroll containing the sealed money. Then Falcon took off for the town's outskirts. He eventually located Team Guy and landed next to them after some time in the air. Falcon. "Hello, Guy.san." "Hello. What are you doing here?" asked Guy. Falcon stated, "The Hokage said he wants your team back at the village quickly. 2 of the rookie genin teams went on the same C rank mission and it's causing the D ranks to pile up, so he needs his other genin to pick up the slack. We're being express delivered home just to do more D ranks? That's messed up," Tenten sighed loudly. "Just take us back," Guy said. "All right, then, let's join hands," Falcon said. Naruto teleported the 5 of them into the Hokage's office after they joined hands. The Hokage waited for the team to enter while seated at his desk. It was said by the Hokage, "Good job, Falcon." "Anytime," Falcon said. "Hokage Sama." The Hokage stated, "That's all I need you to do." After that, Falcon leapt out of the window and took off. After that, the Hokage said, "Team 9, report." The Hokage listened as the team reported on their accomplishments. Following that, he said, "Okay then. I will expect your written statements on the mission tomorrow night. For now, rest. You have missions to do tomorrow. Guy, please stay so we can do your Junin Sensei evaluation." The genin walked down the street from the Hokage's tower and office. At some point, they all parted ways and bid each other farewell. Lee was teleported to the Hokage's office after feeling a hand on his shoulder while he was strolling down the street. "How am I back in the Hokage's office?" he asked as he landed. To his left, a voice said, "I brought you here." Lee turned to see Naruto standing to his left. Lee responded, "Hey, I know you. You're one of the new genin, aren't you? And if I'm not mistaken, you're supposed to be on a mission in Wave Country." "Hokage Sama, what is he doing here?" Guy said, squinting. Naruto replied, "We don't have time for a full explanation, so I'll be brief. Lee, do you want to join the Ninjetti warriors?" "What?" Lee asked. Naruto replied, "I'm one of the Ninjetti warriors. Do you want to join also?" Lee replied, "You're one of the Ninjetti warriors. How?" Naruto stated, "We don't have time for this, Lee. The Ninjetti warriors are a part of a group of peacekeepers that work to bring peace to the entire galaxy, and I'm asking you if you want to join." "I don't know," said Lee. "According to Naruto, your ranger suit will be green." "Deal," yelled Lee. "Lee," exclaimed Guy. "What, Guy? Sensei," said Lee. Guy stated, "You can't make a decision based on the color of your outfit." Whining, Lee asked, "Why not?" Guy replied, "Because I said so. Now, why do you need Lee? Why not take Neji or Tenten?" Naruto replied, "You know what, I'm tired of explaining this to people. Dragon." A man appeared in the Hokage's office in a green flash of light. and Guy got a curious expression on his face as he wondered why Naruto had yelled dragon into the sky. Strangely, the man had green hair and was dressed in black pants and a green shirt. He stated, "We needed someone closest to my personality and thought patterns, and Lee was the closest we could find. Lee is the only person here that can take my powers. Trust me, Guy.san. The Ninjetti warriors are in desperate need of a fourth and Lee could really do some good on our team." According to Guy, "Who are you?" Dragon replied, "An advisor of the Ninjetti warriors. We'll go into depth with you later. But for now, Lee has to make a choice. It won't get in the way of his shinobi duties at all." Lee replied, "Naruto, you said that it was part of a group of peacekeepers, right?" Naruto replied, "Yeah, it's like being a ninja. Except instead of protecting a village, you're protecting the entire galaxy." "I accept," Lee said. With a smile, Naruto said, "Thank you, Lee. You have no idea just how you helped us here." "So now what do I do?" asked Lee. Dragon was saying, "Stand still for a minute, we're going on a little trip." Then, while Naruto, Sarutobi, and Guy rose in white flashes, Dragon and Lee rose in green ones. They landed in the base of the Power Rangers. "Where are we?" asked Guy. "As the Hokage put it, I'd like to know that also." Naruto replied, "You're in our base. Now be quiet, this is a serious occasion." "What's about to happen?" asked Guy. One of the voices behind them said, "Lee's about to be inducted into the Ninjetti warriors." As they turned around, Takesere appeared in his human form. "Ah, Takesere.san. How are you doing these days?" the Hokage asked after recognizing him. According to Takesere, "Just fine, Hokage, Sama." "I need to ask, why am I here exactly?" the Hokage said. According to Takesere, "I thought you would want to see this." The Hokage replied, "So Naruto's, Kiba's, and Hinata's inductions were exactly like this?" Takesere replied, "No, Kiba's and Hinata's were like this. Naruto's was a little bit different." According to the Hokage, "How different?" Falcon, who was still wearing his uniform, replied, "Not much different. If you call being teleported to a different planet and having to fight my way through a forest full of warlike aliens and climbing a mountain, not much different." Takesere replied, "What can I say? I'm different from those three. Now, let's be quiet, it's happening." A massive green Chinese dragon stood before Lee, who emerged in the center of the room. "Kneel," the dragon said. Lee knelt down and listened to the dragon. Dragon continued, "Rock Lee, you are brave, strong, and you are not afraid to stand up for what you believe in. You always do what you believe to be right and do your best to be a peacekeeper. You would make a perfect apprentice for me, and round out the Ninjetti warrior team perfectly as the Dragon Ninjetti warrior. Do you accept the position?" With the Chinese dragon's eyes fixed on his, Lee said, "I accept." Dragon said, "Good." A green orb materialized in Dragon's hands. Lee was still kneeling when the orb exploded from its hands and entered his body. Lee was in his ranger form when the orb struck him, and the two of them created a massive green flash. Lee was wearing a green spandex suit with white diamond patterns on the chest and a white neckline. Two smaller diamonds were on either side of the largest diamond, which was in the middle of his chest. Like cranes and wolves, his gauntlets ended mid-forearm, and his greaves ended mid-shin. They had green diamond patterns on their ends. His helmet made the mouth of a dragon appear open. A gray armor covered the area where the black glass visor and the green armor of the helmet met. A much lighter shade that was meant to resemble teeth was placed on top of the gray armor. There were oval-shaped black shapes above the visor that resembled eyes. A red ruby that was meant to resemble a nose was situated between them and slightly below. The helmet was completed with a silver mouthpiece that mimicked the closed lips of wolves and cranes' uniforms. He had more armor on top of his uniform. It was a gold chest piece that was secured in place by straps beneath his armpits and covered his shoulders, chest, and back. There was a gold band on each bicep. Profile link. There was a green dagger with what appeared to be gold engravings on the side of his body. The hilt was guarded by what appeared to be a three-toed dragon foot. After the transformation was finished, Dragon uttered the words, "Rise up, Dragon Ninjetti Ranger, and accept your place as a member of the Ninjetti warriors." Lee silently got to his feet and proudly displayed his new 6 feet 2 inches height. According to Lee, "I'm ready." 2 hours later, Wolf and Crane chose to remain with Tazuna after they recovered, stating that Rito's forces appeared to be primarily targeting the Konoha Nin and Tazuna. Tazuna made the decision to halt the building of his bridge until the Ninjetti warriors were able to drive Rito out of Wave Country. Crane began thawing out Kakashi with her blaze arrow power. Parts of Kakashi's frozen tomb began to crumble with every arrow. Naruto intervened before Crane could fully release Kakashi. His words were, Crane.san, stop. Why? Crane asked, I've almost got it. Naruto replied, if you keep going like this, you'll wear yourself out and won't be strong enough to fight against the red guy. I think me and Sasuke can thaw him out the rest of the way. After overhearing their conversation, Sasuke, who was seated next to them, remarked, correction, only you will thaw him out the rest of the way. What do you mean by that? Naruto asked, turning to face Sasuke and squinting his eyes. I'm not gonna help you thaw him out, Sasuke declared. Kurenai replied, Sasuke, if I have to order you to thaw out your own Junin-sensei, then I will. Sasuke smirked ghostly as he turned to face Kurenai. He stated, I would gladly help thaw Kakashi out, but since a certain teammate of mine broke my nose, my breathing is irregular, which could make the fire jutsu go out of control. Knowing that he had her on a technicality, Kurenai narrowed her eyes a little. Unfortunately, you were correct. Naruto, thaw out Kakashi, Kurenai said. Kakashi was transported to dry land by Naruto using Cage Bunshin, which he created. As mentioned earlier in the story, Tezuna's house was primarily made of wood and half of it was over water. They all used the Grand Fireball Jutsu to try to thaw out Kakashi after Naruto's clones managed to get him to dry land. Wolf was practicing with his lance in the living room during this time. Inari came down the stairs and saw him while he was doing that. He replied, why are you practicing anyway? You're just gonna get yourself killed. The Red Ranger already took out your entire team. He even took out that Junin. Wolf replied, that's why we're practicing. If he can take us out like that, imagine what he could do if we weren't here. We can't let that huge of a power gap exist between us. Inari stated, it's hopeless. He took out Gato and Gato had our entire country practically enslaved. Fighting him is a useless battle. It's like a rabbit trying to outrun a cheetah. You're just fighting a battle you're bound to lose. According to Wolf, we won't lose. Then Inari exploded. And that's another thing that pisses me off. How can you come here and act like you know just what we've been through? We've been beaten and abused for years. You don't know the true meaning of pain. Behind his helmet, Wolf's eyes narrowed. He continued, you think you had it hard? Boy, this is nothing. You still have your mother and your grandpa here with you. I know people who didn't have anyone in their lives. Those people were unfortunate enough to have to be containers for demons. What's worse is that they didn't even have a say in the matter. They had to take the blame for everything those demons did, when they themselves did nothing wrong. Most of those demon containers were neglected, ostracized, or publicly hunted by their villages. Their families were either killed protecting them or their families abandoned them. They grew up alone and hated by all. But you still have your mother and grandfather. You think you've got it bad? Boy, you don't know the meaning of pain. All Inari could do was look at the Blue Ranger while mentally reviewing what Wolf had said. After that, Inari closed his mouth and went upstairs to his room to consider what he had said. Crane ascended the stairs while Wolf continued to practice with his lance. Inari was crying when she went to his room. What's wrong, Inari-san? She said as she crept in silently. Inari replied, it's just what the Blue Ranger said. Is it true? Are there really people like that in the world? According to Crane, sadly, yes. Inari replied, but that's so unfair, they didn't do anything. Crane stated, that's what burns Wolf up so much. Sadly, bad things happen to good people, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. Here I am, crying about my situation. And all those people out there are living lives a lot worse than mine, Inari said with a hollow laugh. According to Crane, no matter how bad you have it, Inari, there's always someone out there who has it worse. And your situation isn't anything to scoff at either. But, your situation can be fixed. Inari raised his head to gaze at Crane. How? He asked. Crane stated, all you have to do is stand up for yourself. If you, your mother, your grandpa, and everyone else in this village stood up to Gato, Gato would have been helpless and beaten. You might not know it, but every human being on this planet has power. All you have to do is learn how to use it, focus it for the right reasons and causes, and anything is possible. According to Inari, anything, in Crane's words, just about. But what about Rito? Inari asked. Crane stated, Rito's a little bit different. He's stronger than Gato, so it takes a special group of people to beat him. And that's what we're for. The Ninjetti warriors take care of the Ritos of the world, so that you can take care of the Gatos in this world. If we all work together for the sake of peace, evil will find no home on this planet, and everyone can live happily. Inari replied, that sounds like a great world to live in. Crane continued, and it's up to us to make it, one day at a time. When Inari said, thanks, Crane.san, according to Crane, no problem. Crane then went back downstairs to watch over Tazuna's family after leaving Inari's room. She heard a loud shout of, "I did it," as she descended the stairs. Crane, Wolf, and the other ninja hurried to Naruto, the voice's source, from the house. Naruto had just thrown out his clones and was performing a small victory dance when they arrived. "What are you so happy about, Dobi?" asked Sasuke. Naruto replied, "Well, Teme, I just thawed out Kakashi, sensei." "Where is he?" Kurenai asked. Overhead, a voice said, "Up here." They all looked up to see Kakashi hanging from a tree branch, performing some sit-ups. Kakashi stated, "When you're frozen solid, you tend to get a little stiff." Sighing, Kurenai remarked, "I'm glad you're alright, Kakashi." Kakashi's eyes were fixed on Sasuke as he said, "Thanks. I just wished some others shared your sympathy." Sasuke simply sneered and returned to Tazuna's home. Kurenai replied, "Well, hurry up with that. The Red Ranger could attack at any time." Next to them, a voice said, "Oh, you mean like now?" Glancing in the direction of the voice, the Red Ranger was standing there, his sword twisted into an icy blue hue. I heard Kurenai shout, "Scatter." Just before the Red Ranger released a crescent wave of ice energy that nearly froze them, everyone leapt. The Red Ranger carried 4 Cyber Tenga and 40 Tenga. "I brought a few friends with me. You don't mind, do you?" "Tenga, attack!" exclaimed the Red Ranger. With the intention of killing the ninja, the Tenga force charged forward. With haste, Crane leapt into the trees and began removing the Tengas one by one. The ninja were already down 5 Tenga before the Tenga could harm them. With both claws out, Wolf charged forward. The claws grew enormously and glowed white as Wolf energized them. "Double Mega Claw!" cried Wolf as he leapt into the air and descended upon the Tenga. Then, like a tornado, Wolf swept through the Tenga. His claws slashed at any Tenga within 5 feet of him. A Cyber Tenga blasted Wolf in the face before he could do anything more. Upon his recovery, Wolf discovered that Crane was battling 2 Cyber Tenga by himself, while the ninja were engaged in combat with the Tenga. Wolf would run to her aid, but the 2 Cyber Tenga in his path distracted him a bit. While the Cyber Tenga charged at Wolf, he kept his lance in a defensive position. The Cyber Tenga was unaware that Wolf had been honing his lance and had learned a new trick. When the Tenga attacked, Wolf used his lance to block both of them and then energized the lance with a thought. Wolf found that he could electrify the whole lance. By doing so, he sent shockwaves of electricity through the Cyber Tenga's body, blocking their attacks. Before the electricity could cause any damage, the Cyber Tengas swiftly backed up. Then they began firing fireballs at him, which Wolf had to avoid. Crane's condition had slightly improved. Before the Cyber Tenga could permanently harm her, Crane managed to swiftly remove an electric arrow. All of the Cyber Tenga's upgrades were momentarily disabled by Crane's shot, but she still had 2 Cyber Tenga with nearly invulnerable armor. Crane quickly realized that Wolf had a weapon that would allow her to penetrate their armor, while she did not. Crane struck each Cyber Tenga with a freeze arrow after striking them with another electric arrow, creating a thin layer of ice around them. After that, Crane looked in Wolf's direction. Wolf was between his 2 adversaries after being knocked down. Quickly thinking, she used lightning arrows to shoot both Tenga, causing their enhancements to accompany them. Crane then withdrew the bow and simultaneously fired 2 ordinary arrows, killing the Cyber Tenga by striking them in the neck. Crane leapt to assist Wolf in standing up. "Thanks for the save," Wolf said. "Help me kill those 2 and we're even," Crane said. According to Wolf, "Sure. Shoot these." Then Wolf split his lance in 2 and charged them both. He gave both to Crane, who killed them by shooting each one through the frozen Cyber Tenga. Wolf leapt to his feet and gathered his pieces of lance back into one. Then Wolf noticed that the ninja were being handed their butts. Kakashi had his father's tanto out and his headband on. Whenever a Tenga lunged at him, Kakashi would effortlessly sidestep and cut the Tenga's neck. Kakashi eventually completed all 5 of his. But the only one doing well was him. Because Sasuke had unlocked his Sharingan during the battles, he was able to mimic Kakashi's tactics. Sasuke had to wear all of Sakura's Tenga since she was hiding behind him. Unfortunately, they were fighting a losing battle because none of the other genin knew any deadly attacks. When the odds were so stacked against them, they were unable to persevere. Crane and Wolf made the decision to assist at that point. Crane used her bow to shoot the rest down as Wolf charged forward and began attacking the Tenga. They eventually managed to eliminate the entire horde. The Red Ranger turned and faced the person who had led the Tenga there. He was saying, "So, you guys have some skills. Let's see how good you are against an old friend and his buddies. Near the Red Ranger, a purple column of light emerged from the sky. A monster appeared beside him. It was a sickly green monster. In the center of its chest was its eye. A purple tongue protruded from an opening at the bottom of his chest, dripping saliva. Both the monster's thighs and shoulders were enormous for their size. Silver blades protruded from the monster's head and shoulders. It had 3 enormous claws on each hand and 3 smaller ones between them. 40 more Tenga were with him. Have we seen this guy before? Wolf asked. Kakashi replied, yes. He's one of the monsters that attacked the village a while ago. I think his name was Repellator. It's a good thing you remembered my name. It's good that you know the name of your killer, uttered the monster Repellator. Wolf replied, as long as we're here, the only ones dying will be you two. The Red Ranger replied, big talk for someone who hasn't lasted 5 minutes in a fight with me. Besides, it's just 10 of you, and 40 Tenga. How will you beat them when you have to take us also? The Red Ranger heard someone say, they're not the only ones fighting here. The Red Ranger turned to see Inari standing with numerous Wave Country residents, all of whom were armed. Inari stated, we've taken crap from Gato before, we're not gonna take it from you. This is our world to live in, and we're not gonna be afraid to stand up for ourselves anymore. From behind his helmet, the Red Ranger frowned. He continued, oh, so you all decided to finally grow some balls? Too bad you didn't while that fat ass was here. You might have lived through this rebellion of yours. Tenga, kill the villagers. Shinobi, shouted Wolf, help the villagers. You heard him, said Kakashi, attack the Tenga. All of the ninja helped the villagers deal with the Tenga by running past the Ninjetti and their adversaries. Wolf snarled and lunged toward the Red Ranger, but Repellator caught him before he could reach him and slashed him across the chest. Wolf barely avoided one of Repellator's claws before rolling on the ground and leaping back to his feet. Crane released 2 arrows simultaneously after drawing back the string on her bow. One struck Repellator's tongue, and the other struck his eye. The repulsor screamed loudly in agony. Wolf replied, now I remember. His eye is his weak spot. Then Wolf lunged forward, trying to hit Repellator's eye with his lance. Repellator's eye glowed purple before Wolf's blow could land, and a purple beam blasted out of it, striking Wolf squarely in the chest, causing him to tremble in agony as he fell to the ground. From a distance, Crane began shooting Repellator. Repellator couldn't do any damage because she prevented him from getting a chance to approach. With a sneer, the Red Ranger leapt over Repellator and landed near Crane. Then, drawing his broadsword, he cut her from left hip to right shoulder, causing her to fall to the ground. Crane leapt to his feet again and attempted to strike the Red Ranger. Sadly, she was unable to. She was paralyzed by the pain that shot through her body with every movement. Crane kicked her in the chest after effortlessly ducking beneath her fist. The Red Ranger swiftly spun around and stopped Wolf's claw. The Red Ranger then knocked Wolf back with a little kick to the chest. The Red Ranger wanted Wolf to charge again, and he did. The Red Ranger ducked under Wolf's attack just in time, and then flipped him over and onto the ground using Wolf's forward momentum. Crane and Wolf leapt to their feet and attempted to attack, but the Red Ranger struck them both in the head with the flat side of his broadsword, knocking them to the ground. The Ranger who was red said, I almost wish Whitey was here. At least he could give me a little bit of a challenge. The Red Ranger heard someone say, ask and ye shall receive. The Red Ranger turned around and had to deflect a blow from Falcon, who broke their sword fight by punching the Red Ranger in the helmet with his free hand. Then Falcon shouted, High Roller. The Red Ranger was launched into the air by Falcon's attack, and Falcon soon followed. Then Falcon shouted, Caliber, and directed Chakra into his legs. Falcon performed a mid-dot air streak, cutting through the Red Ranger and inflicting severe pain on him in defiance of the laws of physics. After landing, Falcon leapt for his teammates. Falcon stated, what you don't get, Gorilla Boy, is that the Ninjetti warriors always work best as a team. After Falcon's onslaught of attacks, the Red Ranger said, and that is supposed to mean something. How? I've defeated you 3 when you were working as a team. Which is why I called in a couple favors and got some help, Falcon said with a sly smile behind his helmet. A figure leapt from the trees. Right next to the Red Ranger, the figure touched down. The Red Ranger hardly had time to raise his sword before the green dagger was blocked. The new figure swiftly moved beneath the Red Ranger's protection, slashed his stomach, kicked him in his exposed stomach, and knocked him back before he could do much more. The Red Ranger glanced at his new foe and remarked, so, you got another Ranger huh? As if that'll help you at all. After gathering his thoughts, the Red Ranger sprinted in the direction of the Green Ranger. The Ranger who was red said, so you can attack pretty quick. Let's see you defend against a broadsword with that puny dagger of yours. Like a statue, the Green Ranger stood motionless. After drawing his sword, the Red Ranger began to cut at the Green Ranger. It appeared to be child's play as the Green Ranger dodged the sword strikes with ease by using his own speed. The Green Ranger jumped back from a downward slash that the Red Ranger attempted. After putting all of his weight on his back leg, the Green Ranger leapt forward and swiftly struck the Red Ranger with his front leg, knocking him back. He said, "Guys, take Repellator. I'll take him." According to Falcon, "You heard the man." Falcon sprinted in Repellator's direction and leapt over him. He asked himself in his head, "How are you guys feeling?" Wolf remarked mockingly, "Great, we're fucking tastic. We're surrounded by gumdrops and ice cream." Crane replied, "There's no need for sarcasm, Kiba. Naruto, what's the plan?" "You guys kill him, I distract him," Falcon said. Then Falcon launched an assault on Repellator. "Streak!" exclaimed Falcon, who then flew in Repellator's direction and attempted to hit him, but Repellator blocked. However, the Streak's overwhelming strength broke Repellator's block and knocked him back. Then Wolf yelled, "Mega Claw," and rushed in. In order to expose Repellator to Crane's arrow, Wolf cut him across the chest. Crane struck Repellator with a lightning arrow, causing him to become painfully paralyzed. Repellator took a blow to the chest from Falcon's charged judgment cut. Wolf swiftly used lightning to energize one end of his lance, giving it Crane. After docking it in her bow, Crane swiftly launched it, striking Repellator in the chest. With his sword drawn, the Red Ranger launched an attack. The Green Ranger kicked the Red Ranger in the chin, sending him flying after the Red Ranger attempted a horizontal slash and was ducked. The Green Ranger leapt into the air and landed beside the Red Ranger. The Red Ranger was kicked to the ground by the Green Ranger after it flipped in midair. Naruto. Just who the hell is this guy? Wolf asked himself in his head. That is Rock Lee. He was selected to become the Dragon Ninjetti Ranger, codename Dragon, Falcon remarked with a sly smile behind his helmet. Crane continued, "So Dragon.San decided to take on a ranger also." Falcon replied, "Yeah, and he said that from now on, he wants us to call him Ryusei. That way, he and Lee won't be confused with each other." "Rule the frozen lands, Gorosei," exclaimed the Red Ranger as he stood back up. An aura of icy blue shrouded the Red Ranger's broadsword blade. Then he dashed over to Dragon and attempted a downward slash. In an attempt to dodge the slash, Dragon leapt back, but an unexpected blue crescent of energy emerged from the blade. His right foot was still caught in the attack and froze over even though he leapt to the side to avoid it. Dragon slowed down with his ice-covered foot, and the Red Ranger ran after him. Every attempt by the Red Ranger to cut the Green Ranger's head was unsuccessful. Quickly ducking down, the Red Ranger attempted to strike Dragon's right leg, but Dragon leapt to his feet. The ice was broken when he flipped in midair and struck the Red Ranger in the helmet with his right foot. The Red Ranger said, "Okay, now I'm pissed," as he stood up. A thin aura of deep red chakra enveloped the Red Ranger as he summoned the power of the four-tailed lava ape. Then, with his broadsword in one hand, he charged Dragon. When the Red Ranger finally got to Dragon, he began slashing at him more quickly than he had been a few seconds before. Dragon avoided 3 strikes in a row, but each one made him unsteady until he was unable to avoid the Red Ranger's downward strike. Dragon was forced to reveal his secret weapon. The Red Ranger swung his sword downward at the Green Ranger, but it halted just before impact. The Red Ranger's arm was immobile as he attempted to draw the sword back. He was actually unable to move his body. Dragon got back to his feet before he could reconstruct what had happened. After placing his hand on the Red Ranger's chest, Dragon launched him backwards. Both Repellator and the Red Ranger were sent to the ground after being knocked into each other. The Red Ranger and Repellator were both raised by some unidentified force. "Take them out." Dragon turned to face his fellow Ninjetti warriors. There was no need to repeat the message to the Rangers. "I got Repellator, you got Gorilla Boy," Falcon remarked. Falcon used a supercharged judgment cut to charge up his sword. Then he sprinted in Repellator's direction, shouting, "X-Streak," as soon as he was close enough. Falcon leapt forward, then effortlessly sliced through Repellator with the supercharged attack. Repellator screamed bloodily before exploding and dumping his guts on the Red Ranger's side and Falcon's back. Then a lightning-covered end of the wolf lance shot the Red Ranger, causing him to feel excruciating pain. The Red Ranger was struck by the other end before he could even scream. The pieces of the lance fell to the ground as the Red Ranger screamed loudly. Then the Red Ranger was raised into the air and slammed to the ground. Unsteadily, the Red Ranger dropped to his knees. "You may have gotten a new ally, but he won't Save your asses forever, he said, turning to face Falcon, Crane, and Wolf. Then the Red Ranger stood up and faced Dragon. He continued, and you'll get yours soon enough. A purple column of light fell upon the Red Ranger, lifting him up and teleporting him away from the Rangers. With the Red Ranger gone, the Rangers all exhaled in relief. The Red Ranger's departure allowed the ninja to take a brief respite, so they all exhaled with relief as well. Oh man, am I glad you guys came when you did. A second later, and me and Crane would have been smears on the ground, Wolf said, turning to face Falcon and Dragon. Falcon replied, hopefully with Dragon on our side, we won't have any close calls like that anymore. Now go pick up your lance so we can go home. They both lifted in the air and floated to him at chest level before Wolf could reach the spot where his lance was in pieces. He glanced around and saw Dragon clenching his fist while pointing at the lance pieces with his index and middle fingers. Wolf replied, dude, you can control stuff with your mind? Wolf was approached by Dragon, who said, yeah, and it's called telekinesis. Wolf replied, so that's how you knocked away the Red Ranger? Dragon replied, yeah, but the heavier the object, the harder it is to manipulate. And if someone tries hard enough, they can break through it. The technique isn't really battle ready yet, but I caught them by surprise. Wolf replied, whatever happens, a victory is a victory. You just gotta have that technique battle ready by the next time we fight the Red Ranger. I'll help you. Thanks, Dragon said. After that, they both teleported out of the village and regrouped with Falcon and Crane. After a week, the residents of Wave Country were able to repair and finish the bridge with the Ninjetti warriors' assistance. The ninja and Ninjetti were present at the bridge's grand opening. Tazuna concluded, on behalf of all of Wave Country, I want to thank you all, Shinobi and Ninjetti warrior alike. Thanks to your selfless deeds, our bridge is completed and life will start to return to our village. Falcon replied, no problem. All in a day's work for a Ninjetti warrior. According to Kurenai, it was nothing. If you call being frozen solid, nothing, then yes, Kakashi muttered. Kakashi was quickly silenced by Shino and Naruto elbowing him in the ribs. Tazuna replied, as soon as we get the money, I promise that we will pay you all back. With a smile, Kakashi remarked, that's good to hear. Now we have to be on our way. The other shinobi, including Kakashi, began to leave. Just as the Ninjetti were ready to teleport away, Inari stopped them in their tracks. Will you come back and visit? Inari approached Wolf. As Crane put it, we'll all come visit. I want to be strong like you guys, Inari remarked. Why? Wolf asked. Inari stated, Crane.san said that the people in the world like Rito need special people to bring them down. I want to be one of them. I want to protect my entire country like you guys protected us. Falcon replied, okay then. We need someone here to help take care of the small problems. You think you can do that, little man? With great enthusiasm, Inari replied, yeah, Falcon replied, fine then, we'll come back soon and teach you a few things. Dragon was saying, if you play your cards right, you might be in line to become a Ninjetti warrior yourself. That's impossible. Inari said. Take it from me, our little pro to copyright ga copyright, Falcon said with a small laugh. Anything is possible. You really think so? Inari asked. With a nod, Falcon said, I know so. Inari seemed to be considering something as he glanced to the corner of his eye. Then he introduced himself as Inari Suno, the Shark Ranger. Wolf gave a nod, adding, that does have a nice ring to it. After shaking his head, Inari uttered the words, Inari Suno, the Phoenix Ranger. Dragon gave Inari a shoulder pat after chuckling and stating, that's what I'm talking about. We'll be back to see you in a while, Inari. Take care, said Wolf, and the Ninjetti warriors teleported off to face their true selves. As Inari put it, Gramps, we forgot to name the bridge. Tazuna replied, oh yeah, we did. How about the super awesome bridge that Tazuna built? Tazuna could only hear the crowd's collective jeers. How about the bridge of the Ninjetti? Said the tsunami. Yeah, Inari noted, that's an awesome name. There were murmurs of agreement from everyone in the crowd. Tazuna replied, well, it seems that we have a winner. In order to honor those who reignited the fighting spirit of Wave Country and brought happiness back to our town, we shall name it, the Bride of the Ninjetti. Thus, knowing that they had saved lives, a reward in and of itself, the Ninjetti warriors went to bed that night. They were unaware that what appeared to them to be a minor act would have far-reaching effects on Wave Country residents' lives that no one could have predicted. That day, Naruto felt wonderful and rejuvenated when he woke up. Since Kurenai Sensei had granted him and the team the day off, they all agreed to simply go and enjoy themselves in the village. The party pooper, also known as Takesere, began to speak as he began getting ready for a day of leisure. Sorry Naruto. You still got training, Kurenai. Sensei granted us the day off, so what do you mean? Have I? But, we were planning on. Naruto, Rito won't take a day off, so we can't either. With a loud sigh, Naruto said in his head, alright, party pooper. After removing his normal clothes and putting on his shinobi uniform, Naruto was engulfed in a column of white light and transported to their command center on a different planet. Upon landing, he noticed that he was in the viewing room for one of the base's virtual reality rooms and that he wasn't the only person in the room. Ryusere, who used to go by Dragon, changed his name to Ryusere after they added a fourth member to their Power Ranger team. This was done to avoid confusion with their new member, and since they were the only ones in the room, Naruto asked, "What are we doing today, Ryusere?" "You guys are in for a real treat today," Ryusere said. "An opponent of yours is a cyber, Tenga." "A cyber? Tenga?" sneered Naruto. "You're speaking as though it's brand new. We constantly deal with them." "Have you ever faced one alone before?" Ryusere asked with a sly smile. Naruto's face began to lose all of its color. "Alone? Are you all insane? I couldn't possibly win. Hell, we couldn't defeat a cyber Tenga in a 1-on-1 fight." "That's what you think," Ryusere said with a smirk. "When you guys go out there, we'll see." Following Ryusere's conclusion, the viewing room was illuminated by a flash of pink and blue. Hinata and Kiba were deposited. Kiba appeared angry that he had to train today and was mentally making fun of Okamisere, while Hinata appeared sad that she wouldn't be able to spend a day with Naruto but soon brightened when she saw her boyfriend. "Why in the world must we train today? Why can't you guys take the day off that Kurenai Sensei gave us? All you want to do is watch us work out until we break a limb or something. You people are total sadists. You guys had to come because I was going to hang out today." "Stop talking, Kiba." Not only did Okamisere respond, but Ryusere, Kijukisere, Takesere, Naruto, Hinata, and the absent Lee did as well. Kiba said aloud, "Anyway, Naruto, what are we going to do today?" "I think these guys have snapped," Naruto remarked. "They want us to confront a cyber Tenga by ourselves." With Hinata's eyes widening in shock, Kiba screamed, "What the hell?" With a sigh, Naruto stated, "It's true. These guys want to kill us," Kiba muttered. "Let's get started," Naruto said. "Perhaps we can get home sooner if we get started sooner." "Okay," Kiba said. Then Hinata remarked, "Naruto-kun, are we overlooking someone?" After fixing his mouth to say, "No," Naruto swore loud and uttered, "I forgot about Lee. I am very sorry that I am late, my friends," Lee said as their new fourth member emerged in a green flash of light, as if he were speaking of the devil. "I had to stay clear of my teammates." Kiba replied, "You really should learn to think on your feet, rookie." Kiba had never missed an opportunity to remind Lee that he was the new guy on the team, but Lee chose to remind Kiba of something else instead. Lee replied, "You've been a ranger for only a few months longer than me, yet I've been a shinobi a year longer than you, rookie." "Oh shish. Takesere said. "You have a different schedule than these guys, and I apologize, Lee." "It's no problem," Lee said. "All I wanted was to use one of those step-in dummies." "You don't?" asked Naruto. "Why? They haven't made me one yet," Lee stated. "Given that I lack chakra, my step-in dummy must appear to be the same." "I apologize for the delay, Lee," Ryusere, who remained in the room, said. "I swear, we'll get your belongings soon." Lee said, "It's no rush, my mentor," and waved him away. "Thank you," said Ryusere. "I believe it is time for us to begin. Naruto, you're first because we'll go by who became a ranger first." Takesere teleported Naruto to the virtual reality room despite his cries, and when he looked around and saw a cyber Tenga hurrying toward him, he swiftly crossed his arms in front of him and screamed, "Ninjetti! Ranger form, Falcon Spirit." As he lowered his arms to the side of his body, white lightning encircled his forearms, leaping from one forearm to the next, creating a ring around his body. The lightning ring solidified, then re-formed, with the top ring traveling to his head and the bottom ring to his feet, changing Naruto along the way. When the rings arrived at their destination and dissipated, the white and Ninjetti Ranger was standing there. Falcon swiftly drew his sword and narrowly avoided the cyber Tenga's blow. The Tenga attempted to use its claw to strike Falcon in the middle, but Falcon leapt back. Falcon then leapt forward and kicked the Tenga, knocking him back. Falcon swung his sword and landed a shallow cut on the cyber Tenga's armor, but the cut didn't seem to bother him, as the Cyber Tenga charged up a fireball and threw it at Falcon, knocking him to his back. Falcon recovered on wobbly legs and was barely able to dodge as the Cyber Tenga lunged forward and attempted to strike him with its claws. The Cyber Tenga charged up its claws and began swinging at Falcon, who used his sword to block, but his defense began to erode with each blow, and he began to be pushed further and further back. The Cyber Tenga stomped on Falcon's stomach and used its foot to pin Falcon to the ground, knowing that it was charging up its cannon and pinning Falcon in place to ensure a hit. With one powerful blow, the Cyber Tenga powered through Falcon's defense and slashed him in the chest twice, sending Falcon flying through the air and landing on his back. Falcon knew that he would not survive a blast from the cannon. At best he would have to morph. At worst, not even the mythical power of the Ninjetti would be able to save him from death in the blast. He had to leave. Falcon had no other option, so he decided to morph, choosing to stake his life and the bottle's outcome on this one move, even though he wasn't entirely sure if it would work. Falcon shouted, "Falcon Spirit, Ninja Form," while crossing his arms in front of him. With his arms by his sides, Falcon transformed into his ninja form, pinned everything behind this one move, and began to gather the required chakra, shouting, "Shunshin no Jutsu." Suddenly, Falcon vanished beneath the Cyber Tenga's foot, then resurfaced behind it, shouting, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." 6 Falcon clones materialized behind the Cyber Tenga, holding him in place while Falcon swiftly performed additional hand seals and shouted, "Lightning Style, Lightning Palm Jutsu." The Cyber Tenga's screams could be heard even in the viewing room as Falcon's palm was covered in lightning as he called out the attack's name. Then, he rushed forward as quickly as he could and slammed his palm into the Cyber Tenga's back, sending a tremendous amount of electricity through its body. Falcon shouted, "Falcon Spirit, Ranger Form," and swiftly crossed his arms in front of him. Falcon transformed into a ranger, drew his sword, and charged the blade with chakra, slashing at the Cyber Tenga's back, ripping through much of the armor and unintentionally destroying the clones that held it in place. "X-Shuffle!" cried Falcon as the Cyber Tenga turned and slashed at him. After backstepping and narrowly avoiding the Cyber Tenga's claw, Falcon leapt forward and used his sword's Exceed powers to deliver a vicious slash to the Cyber Tenga, whose arm was rendered useless by the X-Shuffle alone, which ripped through all of the armor on its chest. Then, shouting, "Judgment Cut!" Falcon charged the sword once more and unleashed the crescent blast of energy. However, the Cyber Tenga was still alive and began to shoot fireballs at Falcon, who either dodged them or knocked them away with his sword. Falcon appeared behind the Cyber Tenga using the Shunshin no Jutsu and, using his energized blade, decapitated the Cyber Tenga, causing its blood to shoot up like a geyser. Then, along with the blood on Falcon's clothing, the Cyber Tenga glowed blue and vanished. "That was good, Naruto," Ryusei said. "Hinata comes next." When Hinata appeared in a flash of pink and Naruto vanished in a flash of white, she swiftly morphed and drew out her bow. Crane began searching for the Cyber Tenga, but she couldn't see it anywhere. Despite her inability to understand why, something inside of her was screaming for her to jump back, so she ignored it and paid for it. As she recovered from the blast, her instincts began to scream at her once more, and this time, she chose to heed her instincts and jumped back, narrowly avoiding the fireball. Looking in the direction of the fireball, Crane saw that the Cyber Tenga was shooting at her. "How can I reach him? I can't fly in ranger form yet. In ninja form I can, but I won't have my bow." As the Cyber Tenga flew at her, Crane had little time to think. She bowed backwards, barely avoiding the Cyber Tenga's tackling maneuver, and noticed that its jet was less protected than the rest of its body. Crane hurled a freeze arrow, which went through the jet's exhaust and froze it from the inside out. The Cyber Tenga hit the ground at full speed, but sadly, its armor was so strong that it did nothing. The Cyber Tenga leapt back up and began firing fireballs, which Crane had to avoid. She managed to avoid most of the fireballs, but not all of them, and as she was avoiding them, the Cyber Tenga's cannon struck her shoulder, knocking her back and seriously injuring her. The Cyber Tenga was about to blast her again, but Crane managed to roll out of the way before she was blasted again. Crane managed to get to her feet, but she was struck by the fireball that was aimed at her, and she heard Naruto shout, "Hinata-chan," through their mental connection. "Takesere, put me in there," shouted Naruto. "I must assist her." "This is training, Naruto," Takesere said. "She must experience this. She won't be prepared for the real thing unless she does it." In response, Naruto said, "Are you crazy? She's going to go extinct." Naruto.kun, I can handle myself. Naruto was about to argue with Hinata when he paused at the sound of her mental statement. I don't need you to watch my back all the time, Naruto-kun, said Hinata. I can manage this on my own without your assistance. Crane thought, I'll show him. I don't need to hide behind anyone. Everything the Red Ranger said during their mission came back to haunt him, including how he kept putting her down and suggesting that she hid behind Naruto and Kiba. The Cyber. Tenga launched a fireball, but Crane was prepared this time and jumped to the side to avoid the attack before launching a barrage of arrows at the Cyber. Tenga, which was placed on defense because it had to keep an eye out for all the arrows. Crane began firing frost, fire, and electric arrows at random, each of which detonated close to the Cyber, Tenga. In an attempt to counter Crane's arrows, the Cyber, Tenga began firing off fireballs, but it was at a disadvantage because the frost arrows severely weakened its fireballs, which only strengthened the fire arrows, and its systems were becoming weaker with each electric arrow that passed through. If it continued in this manner, it would lose its eye. Since the Cyber, Tenga's mechanical eye was still functioning, Crane knew her arrows would be useless, so she created a shadow clone, almost using up all of her chakra, and instructed it to assist her in shooting. As the two of them shot, the Cyber, Tenga was unable to keep up and could hardly block any of them. The Cyber, Tenga was enraged and charged at Crane, but Crane used one of the lessons she had learned from Kijukisei to put the Cyber, Tenga down. Crane smirked and fired off an electric arrow, then continued with regular arrows. The Cyber, Tenga blocked the electric arrow, but it still detonated, temporarily shutting out all the systems in the Cyber, Tenga's upper body. Crane dispelled her clone and fired an arrow at the Cyber, Tenga's eye, blasting it to pieces. Although the Cyber, Tenga's feet were covered in armor, only its talons were, leaving its ankles exposed. Crane pulled back on the string of her bow and fired 2 arrows at once, which lodged in the Cyber, Tenga's ankles before exploding and sending it to its knees, giving Crane a clear view of the Cyber, Tenga's torso. She fired a lightning arrow that landed in the Cyber, Tenga's chest, barely damaging the armor but forcing all of its systems to turn on. The Cyber, Tenga's throat was functional again, allowing it to shoot off larger fireballs, but the jet also began to function, and everything below the waist was burned and cooked. Following Crane's teleportation to the viewing room, Kiba took her place. As soon as Kiba entered the room, Naruto tackled her, lifted her, and began swinging her around while shouting, Hinata. Chan, I'm so happy you're all right. I was really anxious. When he ceased swaying her, Hinata exclaimed, Naruto-kun, relax. I'm all right. I assured you that I could manage this. With a sigh, Naruto said, good. He then leaned in to kiss her, and Hinata wrapped her arms around his neck and began kissing him in return. Such happiness, youth, and power were shown by my teammates today, Lee said, ruining the moment. I promise that one day I will be as young as my teammates. Do you understand anything he's saying? Naruto asked Hinata after he stopped kissing her. I thought you did. Hinata shook her head, no. According to Naruto, never have. This is great, I got some good moves that I've been itching to try out, said Wolf, who was standing at the ready for the Cyber. Tenga as Kiba was changing and preparing to face his own Cyber. Tenga while Lee continued to berate his teammates for their youth. In his mind, Okamisere said, Kiba, do it. Destroy every limb of this mechanical chicken. Wolf gripped his staff tighter the moment the Cyber, Tenga appeared, activated the jet on its back, and charged at Wolf, barely able to block the claw before pulling his staff back and using it to beat the Cyber, Tenga in the chest, knocking the Tenga back. Wolf then raised his knee and struck the Cyber, Tenga in the eye, using one hand to hold his staff and the other to extend his hand claws. Wolf yelled, Mega Claw, and slashed at the Cyber, Tenga. The Cyber, Tenga displayed skill by raising its arm and blocking the attack at the forearm, wasting the attack. Seeing that the Blue Ranger was vulnerable, the Cyber, Tenga fired its fully charged cannon into his stomach. 10 feet from the attack's force, Wolf was blown to the ground and began to tumble, but he managed to quickly get back up on his feet while trying to ignore the pain of the blast. Seeing the Cyber, Tenga approaching, Wolf grabbed one end of his staff with both hands and slammed it into the ground while screaming, Ion Geyser. A geyser of electricity shot up 5 feet from the ground, opening up 5, 9, and 13 feet from where the wolf lance had been slammed into the ground. The mechanical bird demon activated the jet on its back and flew into the air, narrowly escaping the attack. Wolf cursed that the attack had failed, and the Cyber, Tenga laughed. Did you honestly think that would work? The energy you were putting into your staff caught my mechanical eye. I was prepared for the assault, nothing can escape my notice. He said, bring it, "You Thanksgiving dinner," Wolf muttered, "we'll see about that." In an attempt to break through Kiba's defenses, the cyber Tenga narrowed its organic eye and charged at Wolf, who used his staff to block the attack and push back the cyber Tenga's claw. As they pushed, Wolf grinned behind his helmet and said, "Time to try out a new move of mine." Wolf used his new move while they were pushing each other, and in a split second, his staff was covered in electricity, shocking the living daylights out of the cyber Tenga, who backed up in pain and cried out in shock. Wolf leapt into the air, still channeling electricity into his lance, and struck the cyber Tenga on its cannon, sending hundreds of volts of electricity through the cyber Tenga's body and destroying the cannon. Wolf saw the red glow from the mechanical eye dim, and he knew he had won this battle. Wolf then buried the business end of the left lance piece into the cyber Tenga's gut, quickly joined by the right piece as Wolf fried the cyber Tenga from the inside out after the Blue Ranger swung the right part of the lance and the cyber Tenga blocked it, receiving a nasty shock in the process. Wolf was then taken to the viewing room and received a brief round of applause from his friends. "That was fantastic, Kiba," Ryusei remarked. "I appreciate your final act of brutality, where you stabbed him with both." After absorbing all of the cheers, Kiba said, "Thank you. However, you should be aware that playing with electricity isn't always a good idea," Ryusei stated. "If I were you, I would research the characteristics of electricity and magnetism further. You might be able to launch a few more attacks, who knows?" With a nod, Kiba said, "Thank you, Ryusei. My acolyte is the last but certainly not the least," Ryusei stated. "Lee, are you prepared for this?" Lee shouted, "Yosh," and nodded. "I'll enter the virtual reality room and perform just as brilliantly as my new colored comrades." Nodding and grinning, Ryusei said, "That's the spirit, Lee." Lee crossed his arms in front of his chest and shouted, "Ninjetti," before vanishing in a flash of green and emerging in the gravity room. Ranger form, Dragon Spirit, Yosh. Green lightning flashed across Lee's wrists, and as the lightning from his gauntlets connected the gauntlets to form a ring around him, the ring doubled and solidified, one ring going to his head and the other to his feet, transforming him. Lee lowered his forearms to his side. By the end of it, Lee was wearing a green spandex suit with white around the neck and white diamond patterns on his chest, with the largest diamond in the middle and two smaller ones on either side. He had green diamond designs on the ends of his greaves and gauntlets, which ended mid-shin like cranes and wolves, and his helmet resembled a dragon with its mouth open, with gray armor covering the area where the green armor of the helmet and the black glass visor met. A much lighter shade of gray armor was placed on top of the gray armor to resemble teeth. A silver mouthpiece, resembling the closed lips of cranes and wolves' uniforms, completed the helmet, which had black oval-shaped shapes above the visor that resembled eyes, a red ruby in between them, and a little lower, which was meant to resemble a nose. There was more armor on top of his uniform, a gold chest piece that covered his shoulders, chest, and back, secured with straps under his armpits, a gold band on each bicep, a green dagger with what appeared to be gold engravings on the side of his body, and what appeared to be a three-toed dragon foot at the guard of the hilt. The ranger of the dragon Ninjetti was prepared for combat. Rapidly drawing his dagger and holding it in a reverse grip, Dragon waited for the Tenga to reveal its ugly face. The monster blasted him from a distance, but Dragon was able to quickly avoid every attack. After avoiding a few, Dragon thought, "This is getting nowhere. If I don't get closer, I can't hit." Dragon hurried forward until he was close enough to the Tenga and leapt into the air, spinning in the air and shouting, "Dragon wind!" Dragon swiftly used his above-average speed to zip past the fireballs and the odd cannon blast the cyber Tenga was throwing at him. Dragon landed and hurried after the monster, crashing his foot into the cyber Tenga's face and sending it spiraling to the ground. He jumped in the air and attempted to end the fight quickly by stabbing the Tenga with all of his weight and momentum behind the strike, but the cyber Tenga rolled out of his way, so Dragon stabbed his dagger into the ground and got it stuck. Dragon quickly let go of the dagger and brought his leg up for a devastating axe kick to the ground, shattering the rock that was holding his dagger hostage. Dragon punched the cyber Tenga in the face with his unarmed hand, then struck the cyber Tenga in the sternum with the pommel of the dagger, then attempted to cut the cyber Tenga's body, but the cyber Tenga jumped back before it could reach him. The cyber Tenga prepared itself when it saw Dragon charging, and Dragon aimed a punch at the cyber Tenga's sternum, but the cyber Tenga brushed the blow away. Dragon used the other hand to punch, but the cyber Tenga leaned back, so the attack met nothing but air. Taking advantage of the momentum, Dragon turned around and kicked the cyber Tenga in the face with his heel, then pushed him back with the bottom of his foot, creating a small gap. Dragon ran forward, gaining as much momentum as he could in that small area, and he leapt into the air with his right leg crunched up as close to his body as he could. Then he yelled, "Dragon Blast!" After being knocked back 30 feet by the attack, the Cyber Tenga landed on the ground. Upon rising, the Cyber Tenga noticed that the Green Ranger was not far away and was rapidly approaching. The Cyber Tenga began firing fireballs, but each one was evaded, and when Dragon approached close enough, the Cyber Tenga blasted him point blank, knocking him back. When Dragon emerged from the fireball, he noticed that the Cyber Tenga's shoulder cannon was beginning to glow yellow. Dragon hurried forward, avoiding all of the Cyber Tenga's fireballs, and then he vanished from view, save for the Cyber Tenga. When the other Rangers saw Dragon again, he was crouching beneath the Cyber Tenga with his leg crunched up, and he cried out, "Dragon launch!" "I'm out of time!" Dragon yelled as he launched himself with all his might, but the Cyber Tenga leapt back to avoid the attack. Dragon noticed that the Tenga's cannon was glowing brighter than before. Smiling behind his helmet, Dragon leapt up, still clutching the Cyber Tenga's claws, and then he extended his feet into the Cyber Tenga's face, knocking the Cyber Tenga to the ground and launching himself 30 feet away. Dragon sheathed his dagger and leapt to the left, narrowly avoiding the blast from the Tenga's cannon. The Tenga pursued him, intending to end the battle. Dragon wasted no time in landing, launching himself after the Cyber Tenga and drawing out his dagger. Then leaping forward and cutting the Tenga across its stomach, cutting the armor as he went, then twisting around and kicking the Cyber Tenga with his heel, then hitting the Cyber Tenga in the stomach with the pommel, then swinging the blade to cut the Cyber Tenga again, cutting the armor again, and finally swung the blade for the Cyber Tenga's neck, but the Cyber Tenga ducked and blasted him with a fireball to the chest. His eyes narrowed behind his helmet, and he thought, "Enough with this. This armor is weighing me down too much." The attack knocked the Green Ranger back, but he was still able to fight. "Let's see how fast the Cyber Tenga is now," Lee thought as Dragon placed his hand on the golden armor plate over his chest and pressed down on the diamond design over his sternum, causing the golden straps under his arms to retract into the golden plate. Dragon then lifted the golden plate off his shoulders and tossed it aside, causing a noticeable dent in the ground that surprised the Rangers and the Cyber Tenga, who were unaware of the weights. Dragon shouted, "Dragon launch!" and vanished from view, resurfacing beneath the Cyber Tenga as before. Dragon smirked and thought, "This time, I will succeed." The Cyber Tenga jumped back and evaded the attack as before, and the yellow glow from the Cyber Tenga's cannon reappeared. In front of the Cyber Tenga, Dragon vanished and then reappeared in midair, shouting, "Dragon wind!" After slamming his leg into the Cyber Tenga's face, Dragon rushed after the creature once more and screamed, "Dragon blast!" The Cyber Tenga was knocked back and his eye was shattered by Dragon's leg being extended into his face as before, but this time it was directed at his eye. Dragon vanished from the Tenga's perception, only to reappear with the cry, "Dragon launch!" The Cyber Tenga was staring up when Dragon aimed his attack at his cannon, breaking off the nozzle. Then he unsheathed his dagger and struck him in the chin with the pommel of his blade. The Cyber Tenga saw the Dragon dagger coming down with his organic eye, and as the blade entered the eye, it stabbed through to the brain, causing a geyser of purple blood to shoot up, splattering all over his uniform. Kiba grinned and remarked, "That was good," as Dragon vanished and then resurfaced in the viewing room with the rest of his team. "Naturally, rookie. I completed it in half the time with twice the badass. Airy." "Don't listen to Kiba, Lee," Hinata said, chuckling slightly at Kiba's remark. "Your battle was really impressive." "Look at all the blood you have on you," said Naruto. "You truly are a Ninjetti warrior, I suppose. However, how were you aware that his cannon was going to explode?" "As I observed your battles with the mechanical bird warriors," Lee remarked, "I noticed that the cannon would begin to glow before it fired. I anticipated the Tenga's attack using that." "Very impressive, Lee," Ryusei remarked. "However, I must admit that I was hoping you would do more with your telekinesis. I believe you need to practice it a bit more. I would try firing your elemental arrows at the same time, Hinata. Additionally, I would advise Naruto to practice your Exceed attacks. You can all train on your own at this time." According to the Rangers, "Hi, Sensei." After that, the Rangers divided up to improve their skills. After a couple of hours, beep, beep, beep. When the command center's alarm system sounded, Ryusei appeared in front of it and began pressing a seemingly arbitrary set of buttons on the computers, which caused a picture to appear on the screen depicting a group of Tenga attacking a town in the southern part of Fire Country. The Rangers entered the room as a door behind Ryusei slid open, and Naruto exclaimed, "What's going on, Ryusei?" "A group of Tengas are attacking a town in Fire Country," Ryu said as he turned around. "We'll take care of it, Ryu-san," Lee said with a nod. "Come on, my young teammates." They all teleported onto the top of a building in the town, which overlooked the 24 Tenga of the attack, who were shooting fireballs at buildings and setting them on fire. The other Rangers nodded and agreed with Lee, though not as enthusiastically. Falcon said, "Crane, would you?" With a nod, Crane gestured to the Tenga with her bow. "Guys, get your weapons ready," said Falcon. Falcon produced his sword, Dragon produced his dagger, and Wolf produced his lance. Dragon touched Falcon's shoulder before Falcon could send a signal. He stated, "Forgive me, my leader, but I wish to conquer these foul demonic crows myself." "What the hell are you smoking? You can't possibly think you can take them out alone. You've barely started your Ninjetti training," Wolf said, turning to face Dragon. Falcon replied, "Hold on, Wolf. I barely started mine before I faced off against a large number of Tenga myself. Maybe the new guy can do just as good. Give him a chance." "Do you think you can handle all of these guys, Dragon?" Falcon asked, turning back to face Dragon. "Yes." Dragon nodded without a second's hesitation. Falcon replied, "Okay then. You got it, but if you start struggling, we're jumping in. Now go whoop some ass, Dragon." At attention, Dragon rose, saluted Falcon, and exclaimed, "Sir, yes sir." With his dagger ready, Dragon leapt to a nearby building lower than their present one. One of the Tenga was now directly above Dragon. The Tenga turned away, and Dragon leapt from the structure. Dragon instantly killed the Tenga by slicing the back of its neck with his dagger. Then Dragon dashed in the direction of the other Tenga. With two of them facing away from him, Dragon called out, "Dragon Wind." The two Tenga were knocked out when Dragon's leg struck their necks. The others took notice after Dragon killed those two. They turned and hurried over to Dragon. The Ranger simply grinned and sprinted ahead. He swept through the whole Tenga mob as he ran forward. Most of their blows were rolled and dodged by Dragon, who even managed to get a couple of his own in there. 3 Tengas were injured and one was killed when he jumped out of the other end of the Tenga mob, leaving an even 20 remaining. Dragon caught one of the Tenga's slashes after avoiding 2 of them. After capturing the Tenga, Dragon used its body as a human shield to stop another Tenga from launching a fireball. The Tenga that launched the fireball was then struck by Dragon's meat shield kick. Dragon leapt forward in a flash and cut the neck of one of the Tenga. He spun around and slashed the second Tenga through the neck, using the momentum from the swing. Dragon leapt to his feet, nailed 2 Tenga in the chins with a butterfly kick. A Tenga tackled him from behind as he landed. Dragon could feel the heat from the fireball building up even through the suit. The Dragon tossed his dagger aside. Dragon made the dagger levitate and aimed its tip at the Tenga by using his telekinesis. Dragon pushed the dagger until it reached the top of the Tenga's head, causing it to rip through. Dragon was able to get back on his feet with ease because the Tenga did not resist. A fireball struck him in the back as he telekinetically summoned his dagger back to him. Fortunately for him, it only slightly injured him because it struck his golden shield. After stumbling forward from the blast and landing on one knee, Dragon felt another Tenga's knee strike him in the helmet. In an attempt to buy himself some time to regain his bearings, Dragon rolled away from the Tenga and stood up. A Tenga attempted to shoot him again, but he was unable to do so. Rolling aside, Dragon hurried in the direction of the Tenga. Dragon felt a fireball strike him in the side while he was near the Tenga. Dragon managed to flip in midair and land on his feet after going sideways. Wolf picked up his lance and was ready to jump down there after witnessing Dragon being pelted by those fireballs, but Falcon's hand in front of his body stopped him. "What? Nah. Falcon, you must be going crazy. There's no way that Dragon can handle this many Tenga. Look at him, he's being thrown around like a ragdoll out there." "I know," Falcon said with confidence, nodding, "but we haven't seen all that Dragon can do. He won't lose, I'm sure of it." His words were full of assurance, but he didn't trust them. "Are you certain we shouldn't jump in, Takesei?" "Kiba is correct. He is being treated like a rag doll." "Naruto, I have no doubt about it. The boy is capable of much more than you have seen. His resolve to defeat these Tenga is just as strong as yours was when you first faced them. Lee's spirit will not allow him to lose here." "I'm getting tired of these Tenga," Dragon thought as he inhaled deeply down at the battle. Dragon hurried over to the Tenga that was closest. He leapt into the air when he reached it. Dragon applied pressure to the armor's diamond pattern while in midair, which released the straps beneath his arms and gave him access to his maximum speed. The armor landed on top of the Tenga's head after falling. After descending, the dragon vanished in an instant. Under a Tenga, dragon reappeared. His shout was, "Dragon launch." The Tenga launched itself into the air like a rocket when Dragon's boot struck its chin. Dragon swiftly flipped in the air before vanishing and resurfacing above the Tenga. Dragon hammer. Dragon then yelled as he extended his leg to strike the Tenga with his heel. A crater was created when the Tenga fell toward the ground and struck it violently. After landing on his feet, the dragon vanished. Before shouting, "Dragon wind," he reappeared in midair in front of another Tenga. The Tenga's neck was liquefied by the dragon's leg. Dragon took off, barely evading the fireballs that the other Tenga began to shoot at him. He kneed one Tenga in the gut when he reappeared next to it. The others opened fire after the Tenga's cries of agony informed them of his location. Dragon's quick thinking allowed him to block all of the attacks by using the Tenga in front of him as a meat shield. Then Dragon vanished, only to reappear with his dagger in another Tenga's neck. Dragon stabbed the Tenga through as well after tossing it into another Tenga. Dragon replied, "I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it seems that there are only 10 of you left, sigh." When a Tenga interrupted, Dragon said, "There's 11 of us, idiot. Look at this, guys. This fool doesn't know how to count." All of the Tenga began to laugh. They were interrupted in their laughter when Dragon exclaimed, "Whoops. My mistake," and vanished. "Now there's 10 of you left. I suggest you guys leave here. I don't want to have to hurt you," Dragon said after they heard the cries of a Tenga having its neck snapped in two and a yell of, "Dragon blast." He responded by spitting a fireball at him. Dragon extinguished his hand and used telekinesis to put out the fireball. Dragon replied, "If that's how you want this to happen, fine." The fireball then rushed out and tore the insides out of the Tenga it came from when Dragon pushed his hand outward. Dragon jumped to the side and attacked the Tenga after one of them attempted to claw his face. He struck it with his blade's pommel before swinging it to cut through the Tenga's abdomen. He twisted around and cut the Tenga again, using the swing's momentum. He buried his dagger in the Tenga's back after kneeing it in the stomach to finish it off. Dragon leapt back to avoid another blow as the Tenga's lifeless body fell to the ground. After that, Dragon lunged forward and launched an attack, cutting the Tenga's face. The Tenga launched another attack, but Dragon ducked beneath it. With a step forward, Dragon sliced the inside of the Tenga's rear knee. The Tenga dropped to one knee at once. Dragon spun around and slashed the dagger through the back of the Tenga's neck in less than a second. Dragon swiftly stooped to stop another fireball by yanking the Tenga's body back up. Then, like a kunai, Dragon flung the body aside and hurled his dagger at the Tenga's neck. The dagger stopped in midair and sliced through the Tenga's neck as he leapt to the side to avoid it. When Dragon turned, he saw a Tenga preparing to launch a fireball at him. The Tenga turned its head and shot another Tenga in the neck as Dragon charged at it. Dragon leapt into the air and crushed the Tenga's neck with a Dragon Wind attack. Dragon hurried to the closest Tenga after remembering his dagger. He avoided the claw swipe and struck the Tenga twice with his blade's pommel. Then he kicked the Tenga in the kneecap. It was easily crushed by his kick, and the Tenga's leg made an angle that was previously impossible. Then Dragon lifted his dagger and inserted it into the Tenga's skull. The last 3 Tenga were all freaking out when Dragon turned to face them. Dragon's hand gestured as though he was going to seize one of them. After that, the Tenga experienced a sense of weightlessness. The Tenga's body began to float as Dragon began to raise his hand. Dragon used his hand to smack the Tenga when it reached a particular height. The Tenga then began to rotate, and it began to rotate more quickly with each Dragon hit. Dragon shouted, "Dragon driver," and flipped the Tenga over once it was spinning quickly enough for him. The Tenga hit like a tornado at high speed and headed straight for the ground. A great deal of dust was kicked up, making it difficult to see Dragon's creation. When the smoke cleared, the Tenga's head was buried in the ground and its body was facing one direction, but based on what could be seen of its neck, its head was facing the other direction. Slowly, Dragon turned to face the 2 Tenga that were still there. "I'll give you a 10-second head start," he said with a sly smile behind his helmet. The 2 Tenga fled after turning away, according to Dragon. 1, 2, 10. Dragon hurled his dagger at a Tenga member's ankle. When the dagger got stuck in the ankle, the Tenga fell, which made the second Tenga run more quickly. Dragon rushed forward and removed the dagger from the Tenga's foot. After swiftly eliminating the disabled Tenga, he vanished and then resurfaced in front of the fleeing Tenga. The Tenga were then encircled by a tornado of green wind after Dragon vanished. When it was all over, Dragon was kneeling with his dagger dripping purple blood and his right arm extended. Dragon put his dagger away and got to his feet. As soon as the click of the dagger striking the sheath echoed through the air, the Tenga was left wondering what the ranger had done. Its fingers fell off after its beak broke off. Its arms sprayed purple blood as they fell to the ground. After believing it was over, the Tenga felt its upper half slide to the left. The Tenga's left and right upper body parts fell as a purple line split it vertically as it fell. Blood and pieces of organs sprang from its waist. Dragon glanced at the scene, then vanished and reappeared behind his armor. He discovered that the Tenga's body parts were all over his body armor as he put it on. Dragon ignored it and leapt back up to join the other Ninjetti warriors. There was a lot of joy and high fives when Dragon returned to his groups. Crane replied, "I can't believe you just did that. Even Falcon didn't beat that many by himself on his first try." Gripping, Wolf remarked, "I guess that wasn't so bad, for a rookie." Behind his mask, Dragon simply grinned and uttered, "Whatever you say, rookie." "So, how did I do, Falcon?" "Senpai?" Dragon asked, turning to face Falcon. Falcon replied, "I knew you could do it. I never doubted you for a second." Takesere whispered, "Hypocrite," in his mind. "Now come on, let's go back to the base." "We still got some training to do before we can go home," Falcon said, ignoring Takesere. The others teleported back to the base after nodding. Rito was training his only ranger while the Ninjetti warriors trained their new recruit. Even though Rito wasn't the most intelligent person on the planet, he was able to spot a bad situation when he saw one. He was aware that the odds were not in his favor. He was begging to lose when you factored in their ninjas and their unique skills. Rito chose to make his trump card stronger rather than give up. Strengthen is not a precise word. Maybe beat the living hell out of. Rito and Seaman were now in their base's training room. Rito was frantically swinging his bone sword, which was the size of a katana, at a fully morphed Seaman. With his large broadsword, Seaman was effectively blocking Rito's katana and holding his own. However, this battle was primarily intended to test and hone Seaman's katana skills because they were quicker and easier to use than broadswords. In his heart, however, Seaman would much rather learn how to defend himself from a dagger. Rito swung his broadsword at him, and Seaman dodged his horizontal swing. Rito sprang forward and kicked Seaman in the face after leaping back to avoid the blow. The blow sent Seaman reeling, and he hardly had time to get back up before Rito was on him again. Despite his best efforts to dodge and block, Seaman began to grow weary. Rito noticed that Seaman's blocks were becoming weaker and slower. Rito waited patiently for the right moment to strike. Rito began using light blows to keep Seaman upright before unleashing a powerful sword slash that broke through Seaman's defense. Rito then slashed Seaman across the chest and kicked him in the stomach. Before he painfully hit the ground, Seaman flew through the air like a top. "I guess this is where I start reaching into my bag of tricks," Seaman thought. Seaman leapt back up and stopped Rito's subsequent blow. They were attempting to outdo one another by pushing against one another. Rito could see that Seaman was grinning, even though his helmet obscured his face. "Okay, Yanbi, you overgrown fleabag, time to pay up," Seaman said in his mind. Abruptly, Seaman's chest began to leak a dense red mist. His eyes glowed a fiery red as the mist began to spread and envelop his entire body. As his muscles grew, Seaman's ranger uniform also grew in size. Rito was being held back by Seaman during the entire exchange. Still matching Rito, Seaman then removed one hand from his sword. After drawing back his hand covered in demon chakra, Seaman punched Rito in the stomach. The chakra leapt off Seaman's arm and struck Rito in the stomach, knocking him to the opposite side of their fighting ring, but Seaman's attack missed Rito. While Rito got to his feet, Seaman continued to yell, "Rule the frozen lands, Gorosei." As Seaman's energy output increased steadily, his sword began to glow with an icy blue aura. An icy blue crescent of energy shot out towards Rito as Seaman swung his sword. Twin yellow beams of energy erupted from Rito's chest gems that mimicked yellow eyes as they began to glow and shoot at Seaman. The beams cancelled each other out when they met the sword crescent. Rito leapt out of the way as Seaman launched another crescent at him. Rito turned to see where the crescent had come from, but Seaman had vanished. Due to years of battle instinct, Rito turned to his left and deflected Seaman's sword strike. Rito was able to block Seaman blow for blow even though he began to swing more forcefully and quickly than he had before his power up. Rito continued to swing, and with each blow, ice began to accumulate on his sword. In an attempt to gain control, they both swung and pushed against one another. The issue was that Rito's sword began to cover itself in ice more quickly the longer the swords were in contact. The sword eventually became entirely covered in ice, and the ice began to move up Rito's arm. Rito stopped it as he blasted Seaman back with the beams from his chest. Rito broke the ice around his sword and chased after Seaman as he was blasted back. Seaman stood up and returned to his defensive position. Rito swung his sword at Seaman as he approached. Seaman made no attempt to dodge. A copy of Seaman turned into an ice statue when Rito's sword struck it, and Rito was flipped over by a double of Seaman as soon as the sword touched him. The ice statue fractured as soon as Rito's sword struck it, and the fragments covered Rito, encasing him in ice. "Ha! How do you like my Hyu Bunshin no Jutsu?" Seaman asked with a laugh. As Rito was unable to defend himself, Seaman charged the frozen Rito and began applying more force to his arms, slashing at him. Rito was able to break himself out of the ice after a few seconds of slashing. Rito knocked Seaman back, shooting the yellow beams from the gems in his chest. Rito gave a small growl, and then his sword began to glow dark purple. As Seaman leapt back to his feet and increased his own power, Rito increased his own. They both launched their energy crescents at precisely the same moment. As they collided and began battling for supremacy, dark purple and icy blue met. Each of the energy crescents fought against the others for a few seconds before exploding in a massive flash and releasing a smokescreen. After turning his head away from the light, Seaman felt two energy blasts strike his chest, sending him flying back to the training grounds wall. Rito rushed in and kicked Seaman in the side of the head as he struggled to get back up on his knees. Rito then placed his katana against Seaman's neck and kicked his broadsword away. With his hands raised, Seaman declared, "Okay, I surrender." After releasing Seaman, Rito remarked, "That was a pretty good spar, Simon. You've gotten good." Behind his helmet, Seaman frowned and uttered, "My name is Seaman." Rito continued to speak as if he hadn't heard Seaman. "You learned to hold the sword with one hand, and you started using your monkey powers together. If you ever get one of those power geeks alone, you could wipe the floor with them. Well, except for the Green Ranger, that is." Seaman gave Rito a dagger. Like glare. Rito would be dead by now if appearances could kill. However, Rito disregarded it once more. "Anyway, you still leave yourself open a lot though. You need to work on that. See ya." After giving Rito a perplexed look, Seaman said, "Wait, aren't you gonna help me with it?" After pausing to glance at Seaman's visor, Rito turned around and continued walking after saying, "Nope." According to Seaman, "Why not?" Rito replied, "Because Family Matters is about to come on soon, duh." Rito continued to walk, leaving Seaman bewildered. What on earth are Family Matters? Rito began reflecting on how he became the new leader of Akatsuki 6 months ago as he settled into his room's recliner to watch the social misfit Steve Urkel. Rewind. A group of people known as the Akatsuki were standing in a circle at a hidden location on the planet Gwyneth. The world had never heard of the Akatsuki collectively. They were among the world's most sought, after men, as well as one woman, on their own. Zetsu, Hidan of Yugakure, Sasori of Sanagakure, Itachi Uchiha of Konohagakure, Kisame Hoshigaki of Kirigakure, Conan of Omegakure, Tobi from Unidentified Regions, Pain of Omegakure, Deidara of Iwagakure, and Kakuzu of Takigakure. One of the Sandame Tsuchikage's private pupils was Deidara. Additionally, Deidara was able to lead the explosion corps of Iwagakure because he was a carrier of the exploding release Kekkei Genkai. Deidara had an intense interest in art, which soon turned into an obsession. He chose to locate and study Iwagakure's Kenjutsu in his search for the pinnacle of art. Deidara was able to transform his chakra into substances thanks to that one Kenjutsu. He was able to create exploding clay by combining his clay with his explosion chakra. But his village hunted him down and exiled him as a result of learning the Kenjutsu. Akatsuki now used his exploding clay for his own ends. Kakuzu was once one of Takigakure's devoted ninjas. Actually, he was once a member of Takigakure's elite. However, everything changed when he decided to kill Hashirama Senju, the Shodai Hokage. Despite losing the battle against Hashirama, Kakuzu survived to tell the story. The civilians and other shinobi in his village were unimpressed when he returned. Due to his failure to complete the mission, he was shunned, chastised, and ultimately imprisoned. Kakuzu began to despise his village while he was confined there. He eventually erupted, slaughtered the village elders, ripped out their hearts, and took the hearts and the most valuable Kenjutsu with him as he fled. Kakuzu extended his own life by learning to fuse those hearts with his own body through the use of the Kenjutsu. He might also exploit their elemental affinities from the blood in their hearts for his own benefit. He made a living from bounty hunting after that and developed an obsession with money, often prioritizing it over teammates and the Akatsuki's goals on a few occasions. He was also extremely irritable. killing off a lot of his former teammates because they irritated him. Hidan was from a place that was once a secret village called Yugakure. Hidan was furious when the locals chose to turn the village from a secret settlement to a tourist attraction. He killed his neighbors and fled the village in a fit of wrath because he thought shinobi were meant to kill. He converted to Jashinism after leaving the village. The god of destruction and slaughter, Jashin, was worshipped in the religion. In fact, this religion's main doctrine was blatant slaughter, with anything less being viewed as sinful. Hidan was given immortality after experimenting with the unique methods of the Jashinist faith. Old age, illness, pain, or blood loss could not kill him. Not even a fucking nuclear bomb could do it. Hidan made the decision to join the Akatsuki after witnessing Kakuzu, whom he regarded as a pioneer in immortality, do the same. That was fortunate for the Akatsuki because Kakuzu's short fuse often led to him killing his partners. Since Hidan was immortal, pairing him with Kakuzu ended that equation. Hidan had the foulest mouth in the universe, was immoral, borderline insane, and disrespectful to everyone, including his own god. Everyone in the organization didn't know Zetsu. He was highly trusted by the leader. Additionally, he had a keen sense of smell, detecting powerful entities from as far away as a nation. Zetsu was also the spy for the Akatsuki and arguably the world's best spy. He could become one with the earth and move through its organic matter at a speed that only space, time ninjutsu could match. He was almost imperceptible while he was merged with them. He also had two personalities, one for each half of his body that was colored. While his white half was relaxed and carefree, his black side was more somber and intelligent. He has always fought with his black and white halves apart, but he has never fought as one. He was a support fighter on the white side and a frontline fighter on the black side. In order to further infiltrate locations, he also possessed a unique cloning technique that enabled his clones to adopt a person's appearance and chakra signature. He is the only Akatsuki member permitted to be single due to his unique abilities. He was regarded as a senior member of the group by the other members. They handed their reports to Zetsu when the leader was unable to receive them. Sasori was a member of Sanagakure's Puppet Brigade, a ninja team that used puppets controlled by chakras to defeat their adversaries. He was referred to as Sasori of the Red Sand, because he was an expert puppeteer and his puppets could turn the ground red with the blood of his foes. When he finally got tired of the village, he killed and abducted the Sandame Cage in secret and used the body of the Cage to make a puppet. In order to keep his youthful appearance and improve his offensive abilities, Sasori also transformed his own body into a puppet. He had mostly hidden himself in his favorite puppet, Hiriko, and had hardly ever revealed himself to the outside world. Hiriko wore the hat and cloak of the Akatsuki. After his first partner, Orochimaru, quit the group, Sasori was paired with Deidara. Itachi Uchiha was a true genius in every way. He has been trained to be the ideal shinobi since birth. He became a Chunin at age 10, an Anbu captain at age 13, a graduate of the academy at age 7, and a master of the Sharingan at age 6. However, he was traumatized at the young age of 4 by the innumerable deaths that occurred during the Third Great Shinobi War. Since then, Itachi has consistently fought for what he believes will bring about peace rather than what others believe will do so. When Itachi learned that his clan was trying to overthrow the Hokage, he realized that this could spark another great shinobi war and took action to stop it. In the Uchiha clan, Itachi served as the Hokage's spy, informing him of the coup. Itachi eventually had to decide between family and peace after the village elders gave him the order to exterminate his entire clan. Peace was his choice. With the exception of his younger brother, Itachi massacred his entire clan. Itachi made the decision to betray his village in order to restore the Uchiha name, allowing his younger brother to murder him and restore the family's lost prestige. He threatened the village elders and the Hokage to keep his brother safe. Itachi was aware of many of Konoha's secrets, including defense tactics, battle plans, the location and identity of their Jinchuriki, targets to kill or capture, and more. If those secrets hurt his brother in any way, Itachi threatened to reveal them to every village on the planet. In the Akatsuki, Itachi now surreptitiously served as the Hokage's spy. The 7 Shinobi Swordsmen of the Mist, a group of shinobi swordsmen with access to some of the most lethal swords and kenjutsu ever, included Kisame Hoshigaki of Kirigakure. Kisame was assigned to the Cipher Division while he lived in the village. In order to prevent his team from disclosing the village's secrets, Kisame decided to kill them all after they were ambushed and taken prisoner. When he finally came out, he discovered that his team leader was divulging the secrets of the village. After killing his leader, Kisame took Samahata, the leader's sword, and assumed his position as one of the 7 shinobi swordsmen of the mist. Kisame later referred to his life as nothing more than a living lie, regretting his choice to murder his team. Having failed in the Mizukage's assassination attempt, Kisame left the village in pursuit of a life free from deception. He was paired with Itachi in the Akatsuki. They were initially antagonistic to one another. However, because they both understood the anguish of betraying a loved one, Itachi and Kisame eventually became friends. Among the 3 original members of the Akatsuki was Konan from Omegakure. During the Second Great Shinobi War, she was among the innumerable orphans. She made the decision to remain with her friends Nagato and Yahiko. Jiraiya of the Densetsu no Sanin even had the opportunity to train them. The 3 orphans made the decision to work together to try to bring peace to their nation, which was a major front in the Third Great Shinobi War. Yahiko was killed as a result of Omegakure's leader Hanzo's actions. Since Nagato was the last person in the world that she cared about, Konan stayed by her side after that. Nagato, Konan's friend, changed his name to Pain of Omegakure. A member of the Uzumaki clan, Nagato possessed the Rinnegan, one of the most powerful Kekkei Genkai ever. Nagato lost his mind after the death of Yahiko, their best friend and the first Akatsuki leader. In order to eliminate his adversaries, murder Hanzo, and seize Omegakure for himself, he called upon the demonic statue of the Outer Path. However, when he used the statue, many chakra rods protruded from his back. He resurrected his best friend's dead body by channeling his chakra through those chakra rods and placing chakra nodes in his friend Yahiko's body. It became nearly impossible to sneak up on one as he added more dead bodies to his collection over the years, giving them all Rinnegan eyes and enabling them to see what the others saw. Additionally, each of the 6 bodies was endowed with the unique Rinnegan abilities. As the leader of Akatsuki, Nagato now represented himself in most circumstances by using Yahiko's corpse. Nagato, who considered himself a god, wanted to share his suffering with the world and show them how they had hurt him by taking on the name, Pain. Tobi was the final member of the Akatsuki. Well, his real name wasn't Tobi. The face of a malevolent genius and criminal mastermind was hidden behind the orange swirl mask. He was Akatsuki's real leader, and Pain was his proxy. This man was responsible for the creation of the white half of Zetsu, the starting of the Bloodline Wars of Mizu no Kuni by manipulating the Yondaime Mizukage, the 2 attacks on Konoha by the Kyuubi no Yoko, and the murder of Itachi Uchiha by his entire clan. Madara Uchiha was this individual. Madara pursued other projects after losing to Hashirama at the Valley of the End. Specifically, advancing to seize and unite every Biju to form the Jubi. The Jubi was a powerful creature whose strength was equaled only by the Sage of 6 Paths, who discovered chakra. After defeating the Jubi, the sage encased its body in a stone sphere and launched it into the sky, where it became the moon. The sage became the first Jinchuriki by sealing the Jubi's soul within himself. The sage created the modern Biju by dividing the Jubi's power into 9 pieces while he was near death. Madara intended to become the Jinchuriki of the Jubi by recreating it. The Jubi's power would allow him to use his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan Tsukuyomi and reflect it off of the Jubi's body in the middle of the moon, allowing him to control everyone on the planet and bathe it in his Tsukuyomi. He would then deprive everyone of their free will in order to establish a world that is peaceful and prosperous. Even though they were unaware of the actual outcome, all of Akatsuki's members were assisting him in gathering the Biju. Zetsu, his right hand man in the organization, was the only person who truly understood his intentions. Madara would use the world's strongest missing.nin to establish a society in which his will was supreme. However, Madara had no idea that world would ever exist, because the world was the target of someone whose power was greater than his. A purple ray of light glowed in the base as the Akatsuki sat around talking about their plans. A strange creature appeared in the purple light. Though it had his bones on the outside, the creature was as tall as a man. When paired with the positioning of his ribs, the yellow gems in the middle of where his pectoral muscles should have been gave the impression that they were eyes and the ribs were eyelids. He had skulls on each of his outstretched shoulder blades. He had a skull for a face, with black holes in place of eyes. He had what appeared to be an army helmet on his head. His left side was painted like army camouflage, while the entire right side was bone white. Rito Revolto chose to interrupt their meeting for an unknown reason. Rito replied, "Wait a minute, this ain't the Hidden Leaf Village. I guess I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque, huh? Who are you to interrupt our meeting?" Pain asked, turning to face Rito. "My name is Rito, and I'm here because your group looked pretty cool and I wanted to lead it," Rito said as she approached them. Konan laughed and replied, "You do not barge I here and demand to become Akatsuki. You are invited to be a part of it. And you think you can rush in here and take leadership from me? Hidan, if you would be so kinda?" Pain said, squinting his eyes. Hidan produced his modified tri-bladed scythe by reaching behind his back. Hidan looked at Pain and replied, "Shut the fuck up, you pain in the ass. I'd have killed this bastard anyway. A freak like him would be an interesting offer to Jashin Sama." Then Hidan vanished from sight, racing in Rito's direction. Rito's sword appeared as he saw Hidan coming and stopped his scythe. Hidan kicked Rito back, easily knocking his sword to the ground. After being knocked back, Rito got back up and swung horizontally at Hidan. Hidan was slashed across the chest because he was unable to raise his scythe in time. Immediately leaping forward, Hidan began a rapid fire weapons duel with Rito. Following several minutes of combat, Rito was struck by a slash from Hidan's scythe, which caused flesh to be pulled away. Hidan was thrilled to have torn off the flesh, but his happiness was dashed when he saw or failed to see the blade that had done it. No blood. Hidan uses his most powerful and distinctive jutsu, which is triggered by the opponent's blood. "What the hell?" shouted Hidan. Rito exploited the situation while Hidan was thinking about what had happened. Hidan was sliced to pieces by Rito's horizontal sword swing, which released a purple crescent of energy. Hidan screamed in agony as pieces of his body dropped to the floor. With everything below his diaphragm and his forearms amputated, Hidan screamed, "Holy shit, that was a strong move. It cut through me like nothing." Observing the entire battle, Kakuzu simply burst out laughing at the immortal man's misfortune. He stated, "That's what you get for charging in like that. You should have tried to find holes in his fighting style first before you just attacked like the complete idiot you are." Hidan's mood was not lifted by Kakuzu's taunting, rather, it only made him more irate. He said, "How about you shut the fuck up and put me back together again, you dickwad?" "What do I get out of it?" asked Kakuzu. "You get to have the satisfaction of living through the rest of the day." "Kakuzu, put Hidan together now," said Pain, who chose to join the conversation. "Yes, Pain. Sama." Kakuzu turned to face Hidan and extended his arms, causing black tendrils to emerge and snatch Hidan's body parts. Kakuzu began separating himself from Rito and uttered the words, "Come on Humpty Dumpty. Nice warm. Up, hide and seek." "Next," Rito said, gesturing to Hidan's upper body. Pain replied, "You may have been able to best Hidan, but you won't beat Deidara." Deidara hurried Rito after nodding in agreement with Pain's commands. Deidara briefly placed his hand in a pouch by his side as he hurried Rito. Rito swung his blade at Deidara, but Deidara opened his hand instead. Deidara had mouths on both palms. A tiny clay bird flew out of the mouth in Rito's direction. After mocking Deidara's bird, Rito remarked, "What is this little guy gonna do? Peck me?" After making contact with Rito, the bird exploded, knocking him on his ass. Rito leapt back up and saw another bird approaching. Despite Rito's efforts to avoid it, the bird continued to pursue him. Eventually, Rito blasted it with another crescent of energy from his sword, causing it to explode. Rito replied, "Is that all you can do? Make little birds? Dude, that kinda sucks. According to Deidara, I'll show you just what I can do, yeah." After returning his hand to his pouch, Deidara hurled a ball of clay at Rito. Rito simply sidestepped the ball, causing it to strike the cave's wall. Rito replied, "Wow, even a demorphed Kimberly put up a better fight than you." Even though he had no idea who the hell Kimberly was, Deidara narrowed his eyes at the insult. He extended both arms and began to release a swarm of insects from his hands' mouths. Rito sent a crescent of energy at the insects, who all shot at him. Unexpectedly, the insects all avoided the crescent and targeted Rito with a kamikaze dive bomb. They exploded and kicked up a smokescreen despite Rito's efforts to block them with his blade. Deidara opened his hands to launch another barrage of insects through the smokescreen, but as soon as the first few escaped, two yellow beams blasted straight into Deidara's left arm, blowing up the exploding clay inside and removing his left arm in the process. As his arm was blown off, Deidara let out a painful scream. As the smokescreen surrounding Rito cleared, Deidara began muttering obscenities. Rito was standing there, unharmed except for a few burn marks on his bones. "He's as good as beaten. Who else y'all got?" he said, turning to face Deidara. Pain's eyes narrowed. He was not surprised by Hidan's defeat. Since he was immortal, Hidan typically charged with his guns blazing and didn't care about tact. As a result, Hidan was viewed as one of the weakest Akatsuki despite his strength. He was finished as soon as you separated his limbs. Deidara was unique. Considering the match and what Pain knew about Deidara's skills, he saw that many of Deidara's more powerful skills were limited by the cave in which they were fighting. Making a huge clay dragon that explodes in a cave full of your allies isn't exactly feasible. When Pain ordered Deidara to fight, he failed to consider the enclosed area, and as a result, Deidara was now without an arm. Pain replied, Itachi, show this fool what happens when you try to cross the Akatsuki. Itachi nodded and said, yes, master. He then resurfaced in front of Rito after vanishing from his spot on the sidelines. Itachi silently activated his Sharingan and murmured, strange. You have no chakra in your body at all. So Genjutsu would be ineffective against you. And the fact that you took all of Deidara's blasts without any significant damage suggests that you have a high pain tolerance. Nodding, Rito remarked, yep, not much can hurt me. Prior to witnessing Itachi vanish, Rito was certain that he would prevail in this match. Then he heard someone say, how about we test that pain tolerance of yours, shall we, from behind him. Itachi passed through a clone as Rito turned around and attempted to cut it in half. A voice shouted, fire style, grand fireball jutsu, to Rito's right. Rito saw a massive ball of fire sail through the air. Rito swiftly cut the grand fireball jutsu in half with a crescent of energy. Itachi hurried Rito as the fireball was cut in half. Itachi was easily able to lean back and avoid the blow when Rito slashed at him. After giving Rito a kick to the chest, Itachi caught Rito by the back of his head and forced his head against his knee as it rose. As Itachi began performing more hand seals of fire style, grand fireball jutsu, Rito staggered back from the blow. There was no miss for this fireball. Itachi leapt back as the fireball swallowed Rito. Wow, it took Itachi 10 seconds to defeat someone that cut you to pieces. What does that say about your abilities, Humpty Dumpty? Exclaimed Kakuzu, who had already completed assembling Hidan. Hidan squinted at Kakuzu and uttered the words, fuck you. Like the other Akatsuki, Itachi paid no attention to Hidan or Kakuzu. He was aware that Rito wouldn't be killed by such a thing. He was correct. Rito was standing there with only minor burns after the fireball had subsided. He stated, wow, that move was actually pretty good. It almost hurt me. Itachi ran at Rito, his eyes narrowed. Itachi put a knee in Rito's stomach before he could react, then he lifted Rito and hurled him against the cave wall. Rito slammed into the wall and landed on the floor after bouncing off it. Itachi leapt to his knees and kicked Rito in the head, causing him to fall back against the wall. Itachi was saying, it seems that our chakra techniques aren't as effective on you as they are on regular humans. So that means that we'll just have to pummel you into the grave. Rito leapt back up and drew his blade. Rito's sword began to glow dark purple, but before he could release a crescent, Rito's eyes emitted twin yellow energy beams that were directed at Itachi. Itachi was caught off guard because the yellow beams outpaced the purple crescent he was trying to avoid. The beams tore through Itachi's Akatsuki cloak, and he could hardly jump out of their way. There was Itachi, dressed in a dark brown Anbu vest, black sandals, black pants, a black t-shirt, and a ninjutsu strapped to his back. Itachi hurried to Rito after drawing his ninjutsu. Rito murmured, a sword-to-sword match. Now that's what I'm talking about. Rito matched Itachi's blow with a swing of his own sword. They began exchanging blows quickly, with hardly any of them landing. They could only make shallow cuts if any got through. The fight went to a standstill for 5 minutes. As his disinterest in the match grew, Pain turned to Kisame and said, Kisame, help Itachi destroy that freak. After giving a nod, Kisame pulled out Samahata, his sword. Kisame hurried over to Rito, who was engaged in a sword fight with Itachi. With a sly smile, Kisame kicked Rito in the side, causing him to fall away. With a glance at Kisame, Itachi remarked, I had it handled. According to Kisame, the leader wants this battle handled now. He's tired of waiting on you. Itachi gave a nod, and he and Kisame hurried over to Rito. Rito cut Kisame after matching his swing. Kisame stepped forward and smashed Samahata in Rito's face as he staggered back in agony. Rito fell to the ground after being knocked back. Kisame threw Samahata into the air and began performing hand seals while Rito was recuperating. Water style. Violent water wave, exclaimed Kisame. Rito was slammed into the wall by the violent stream of water that rushed out of Kisame's mouth as he opened it. Itachi rushed forward and stabbed Rito in the stomach after the violent water wave subsided. Rito let out a painful scream as Itachi uttered the words, you're beaten. Pulling out the sword lodged in his stomach, Rito kicked Kisame and Itachi back. Itachi caught it after he threw it back to him. Rito replied, damn it. As soon as I'm about to take one of you out, the others jump in. It's like the Power Rangers all over again. Anyway, I'm going home, see ya. The Akatsuki were left wondering what the hell happened when Rito vanished before their eyes, engulfed in a purple flash of light. When the Akatsuki gathered once more a week later, Rito was once again dropped into their cave by a purple ray of light. You again? Didn't we already throw you out like yesterday's trash? Asked Pain as she saw him. Rito replied, you're not fighting me this time. This time, you're fighting a friend of mine. Guys, say hello to my master, Dark Spectre. Dark Spectre, Rito said, and the ground in front of him exploded into a circle. Lava began to shoot out of the circle like a geyser. The Akatsuki members began to sense something as the geyser's intensity rose. Something was evil. Pure, unadulterated, eternal evil. Whatever was on the horizon was the embodiment of evil. Itachi and Kisame felt a drop of perspiration run down the back of their necks as the lava began to collect around the ground. Zetsu was more terrified than he had ever been. To escape the sense of hopelessness this creature gave them, Kakuzu and Hidan wished they could pass away. Both Sasori and Deidara experienced an increase in heart rate. Before long, the rate rose to a level they had never experienced in their lives. When an army of enemy nin surrounded her and the other early Akatsuki, Konan was more terrified than she was. Madara and Pain were frightened too, but not nearly as much as the others. It's true that they were nearly terrified, but the things in their lives helped them deal with the situation. Lava eventually started to take shape as it began to pool on the ground. The lava formed into an 8-foot tall humanoid. His body appeared to be composed of separated, cooled magma segments that had been placed on top of a body. The heated magma that comprised his interior was visible through the spaces between the segmented pieces of magma. He was without toes, and his hands protruded 5 black as obsidian claws in place of fingers. Giant obsidian teeth were affixed to the outside of his lips on his face. He had no iris, no sclera, no pupils in his eyes. The molten magma inside his body was visible through the clear obsidian covering the holes, which held back. He had what appeared to be fish fins that served as ears on the side of his head. There were black horns fashioned into a crown on his head. He was just one ugly-ass motherfucker to the unknown. To those who were aware, however, this creature was the most repulsive and dangerous creature on the planet. Dark Spectre, Grand Monarch of Evil was the moniker given to this monster. Hello, Spencer, Rito said as Dark Spectre completed its formation. It's Spectre, you useless pile of bones. Dark Spectre. What's so damn hard about remembering that? Snarled Dark Spectre. In response, Rito said, oh, sorry, Spencer. What the hell did you call me here for anyway? Moaned Dark Spectre. Rito replied, remember how I said that there were some people who I couldn't defeat? Well, here they are. The members of the Akatsuki could tell that Dark Spectre was squinting his eyes at them in frustration, despite the fact that he lacked eyebrows and any other facial expression. Them? They're nothing but weak meatbags. How could you not defeat them? How about you fight us and find out, you walking pile of lava? Kisame grinned. In a tone that suggested he would be grinning if he could, Dark Spectre said, my pleasure. After removing Samahata, Kisame ran in Dark Spectre's direction. Pulling his sword back, Kisame struck Dark Spectre, but the blow had no effect. Is that the best you can do? Asked the Dark Spectre, who had just begun to laugh. With a fierce snarl, Kisame drew Samahata away. Then Kisame began to lash out at Dark Spectre, who merely stood there and took the blows. Kisame threw his sword aside and began to launch a close combat barrage on Dark Spectre after realizing that his strikes with Samahata were failing. Without a single grunt, the Grand Monarch of Evil simply stood there and took them all. So, you think you're tough, huh? Well, take this. Sweden. Violent water wave. Kisame yelled back. A stream of water under pressure burst from Kisame's mouth. Dark Spectre was still standing there like a statue as the water flew in his direction. His form was obscured from view as the water swept over him. Dark Spectre stood there as if nothing had happened when Kisame turned off his jutsu. Then Dark Spectre uttered just 2 words. My turn. The Dark Spectre vanished from his position and advanced on Kisame so swiftly that Madara nearly missed it with his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Kisame just managed to bring Samahata up in time to block when Dark Spectre swung his hand in his direction. Kisame's sword nearly broke when the Dark Spectre's claws struck it. When Kisame leapt back, Dark Spectre was right behind him. Kisame managed to avoid 2 of Dark Spectre's claw blows, but he was unable to avoid the final one. The third claw strike ripped through Kisame's body and through his Akatsuki cloak. Turning to Itachi, Pain said, Itachi, Kisame needs help. Go assist him. Itachi silently nodded and swung his sword at Dark Spectre. Dark Spectre simply turned around and gave Itachi the backhand after the sword shattered on his body. To retaliate against Dark Spectre, Itachi effortlessly flipped in midair and pushed off the wall. Itachi began performing hand seals and used a grand fireball jutsu to strike Dark Spectre. Like the violent water wave, Dark Spectre simply stood there and accepted it. I'm a being of lava, you stupid human. What will a small fire attack like that do to me? The Grand Monarch said, laughing. Behind him, Dark Spectre heard a voice. Distract you long enough for me to do this. Sweeten. Daibakufu no Jutsu. As before, Kisami's mouth spit out a stream of water. However, this stream was so dangerous that it made the violent water wave appear like a broken water hose. Dark Spectre was knocked down by the stream's collision with him. He felt as though he was at the base of a waterfall as the water continued to wash over him. Itachi moved to Dark Spectre and began performing hand seals during this time. Water Style. Water Prison Jutsu. The Grand Monarch of Evil was held in the center of the sphere formed by the water gushing from Kisami's mouth. When Dark Spectre attempted to move, he discovered that the spherical prison had very little air. Itachi responded, "You're a being made of lava, correct? Well, when lava comes into contact with water, it cools into rock. What will happen if you're drowned in water?" The evil Grand Monarch began to chuckle. He stated, "Nice try, human, but not even the great oceans of Aquitar are enough to cool me down." While enjoying a bucket of popcorn while watching the battle, Rito remarked, "Aquitar? I always wanted to go there. I bet they have some amazing sushi." Dark Spectre simply ignored Rito's digressions and focused on the fight. Itachi suddenly sensed the water prison's water getting hotter. Itachi didn't have to be a genius to figure out that Dark Spectre was the source of the heat. Itachi made an unsuccessful attempt to add more water to the water prison. The water had become so hot that Itachi's hand was beginning to ache. When Dark Spectre broke through the water prison, Itachi swiftly withdrew his hand because it became too hot for him to handle. Itachi was rushed by Dark Spectre, but before he could get to him, he felt a gust of wind as Pain took his place. "Shinra Tensai," said Pain, extending a hand toward Dark Spectre. Dark Spectre was halted in his tracks like magic. Dark Spectre was forced back and eventually through the wall behind him by the Shinra Tensai attack. Dark Spectre rose again and began to walk toward Pain. "Shinra Tensai," said Pain once more. The Grand Monarch was prepared this time. Dark Spectre accepted the assault and remained motionless. As Pain continued to attempt to strike Dark Spectre with the Shinra Tensai, Dark Spectre began to move forward once more. Dark Spectre was pissed off by the Shinra Tensai. Dark Spectre came to a critical realization as the attacks came. Each Shinra Tensai was separated by a 5-second pause. For the Grand Monarch of Evil, this window was 4.5 seconds longer than he needed, but it would be impossible for others. The Grand Monarch vanished and then reappeared behind Pain as the next Shinra Tensai struck. A hand of obsidian claws tore through his back and out his stomach before the Diva Path of Pain could do anything. To the surprise of every Akatsuki member, Dark Spectre flung the body across the cave. "Who's next?" asked the Dark Spectre, turning to face the other Akatsuki. "You're not done with me." Pain's voice, accompanied by a shout of "Shinra Tensai," reached Dark Spectre. The Dark Spectre struck the cave wall after flying through the air. Pain was still alive, which was unbelievable. Alive wouldn't be the right word. Tearing through his stomach only made his controller urinate, as the Diva Path of Pain was merely Yahiko's reanimated corpse. After he stood up again, Dark Spectre noticed Pain approaching him. "Oh, so that didn't kill you? How about this?" said the Dark Spectre. The palm of Dark Spectre's arm was extended toward the sky. He spread his middle and index claws wide. He then curved them to make them parallel to the floor. As he did so, a lava geyser erupted, covering Pain's entire body and creating a hole beneath him. Yahiko's body was completely destroyed by the lava. After turning to face the other Akatsuki, Dark Spectre remarked, "This game has gone on long enough." The Dark Spectre extended his hand to the Akatsuki members. A black ball, one for each Akatsuki member, sprang from his hand. With the exception of Madara, all of the Akatsuki members were struck in the forehead by the black balls that flew in their direction. Madara swiftly avoided the attack after spotting it coming. The Akatsuki members all fell to the ground in agony as the black ball struck. After finishing his first bucket of popcorn and well into his second, Rito remarked, "Oh yeah, this is the fun part." Dark Spectre's energy was invading the Akatsuki, and they were all writhing in agony. They were all gradually changing, surrounded by a dark purple aura. The dark purple aura began to fade after a minute of listening to the Akatsuki members' screams. The aura began to circle the location where the black ball struck them after being lifted off their bodies. At that moment, the aura moved into their foreheads and created a bolded black D. All of the members' Ds began to glow, followed by Kisami's, Deidara's, Itachi's, and Hidan's. Their wounds were surrounded by a dark purple aura as they were glowing. Their wounds began to heal before their eyes. Hidan's body began to mend. with tendons and muscle fibers replacing the black thread that had held Deidara's arm together. Kisami's and Itachi's injuries from fighting the two aliens had completely healed. The Akatsuki members rose from the floor and then fell to one knee once the D had healed them all. They all uttered the same phrase, Dark Spectre. Sama. The Dark Ghost uttered, Rise, my new pawns. Dark Spectre's new pawns reached their maximum height. Dark Spectre replied, As my new thralls, you all must do something to prove yourselves. And I have the perfect solution. Destroy the one with the orange mask. The former members of Akatsuki turned to Madara as one. They all ran in his direction. Madara began to avoid their attacks after spotting them coming. Madara snuck past Sasori's puppet's scorpion tail with ease and seized it. Madara lifted Hiriko with it and slammed him to the ground. When the other Akatsuki approached him, Madara smashed them all away with Hiriko. Madara hurled Hiriko at Itachi as he rose again to attack. Kisame stepped forward and attempted to use Samahata to hit Madara, but the attack only struck the air. Madara leaned back to deflect the blow, but Konan kicked him in the side from his right as he lunged at Kisame. Kakuzu slammed his knee into Madara's side of the head, and Deidara kicked his leg out from under him. Hidan swung his scythe at Madara as she struggled with the pain, but Madara used his unique ability to teleport away. Hidan was hit in the side by him when he reappeared behind him. Itachi attacked the Akatsuki leader from behind, but Madara was able to easily avoid every blow. He found things a little more difficult when Sasori joined in. Itachi launched a punch, but Madara blocked it by hitting Itachi's wrist, causing the attack to miss its mark as Sasori attempted to use its tail to pull Madara's feet out from under him. Madara kicked Itachi in the chin after leaping over the tail swipe. As soon as he touched down, Madara spun around and caught Sasori by the middle. Madara slammed Sasori into Itachi with a German suplex. Konan kicked Madara in the face as he regained his full height. She attempted a kick to Madara's chest after Konan landed, but he blocked it and punched her in the face instead. To get more height and turn Kisame over, he leapt over Konan and used her shoulders as a launching pad. He changed into an axe kick to Zetsu's skull as he was descending, knocking him to the ground. Madara kicked Kisame in the chest after swiftly deflecting Samahata's blow. The Uchiha then swiftly kicked Kisame in the chin by performing a backflip while extending his legs. Madara easily broke Kisami's nose with a knee strike after grabbing him by the head. Madara continued to strike Kisami's head with his knee until Kisame fell to the ground. Madara dodged the blow and swept Deidara's feet out from under him as Deidara turned back to hit him from behind. Madara watched as his old pawns rushed to win over their new master. What the devil? Even though I'm hitting them, they're not getting bruised. What's happening? When Dark Spectre saw Madara's bewildered expression, he laughed and said, I bet you're wondering what's happened to them. They've become one of my minions. They live to do only one thing. They serve me, and I just told them to destroy you by any means necessary. They have no feelings, no sense of self-preservation, and they will do anything that is asked of them, even if it means destroying their entire body. They are the ideal dark warriors, because they have no feelings or sense of self, and the evil in their hearts can enhance their abilities. You can continue this pointless battle, but it will only make your misery worse. They're unbeatable, and, well, you'll perish here. With a growl, Madara uttered, No, you will be the one who perishes here. You can't beat me. I am a god in the world. Salutations. A massive tongue of black fire erupted from Madara's eyes, and as the flames swept toward Dark Spectre, Madara felt thankful that the constant pressure he had come to associate with Dark Spectre's presence had finally subsided. The black flames of Amaterasu had not swallowed Dark Spectre, but had instead bowed to his will and surrounded him in a black twister of fire, which opened as Dark Spectre left. You may be a god among men, but I am a king among gods, he said. Regretfully, the pressure returned stronger than before, this time enough to knock Madara to his knees. When the Amaterasu was supplemented with Dark Spectre's own fire, the twister of fire swelled and began to turn dark red. Dark Spectre gestured to Madara, and the twister approached him at a snail's pace. Madara could have used his teleportation ability to escape dodge, but he was restrained by Dark Spectre's energy and sheer terror. As the twister consumed the powerful wielder of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, he could only scream in agony as every cell in his body was burned to a crisp. As this was going on, Rito, who had just eaten all of his popcorn, said quietly, Baby burn, disco fire. Dark Spectre turned to his new dark warriors as Madara's body was crisped to a crisp and flung to the winds, saying, Now, my dark warriors, you will follow every order Rito gives you without question. They all knelt down and uttered the words, Yes, my master. Good, my minions, said the Dark Spectre. I dealt with these peons for you, and I even got you 8 new pawns, the Dark Spectre said, turning to Rito. I'll burn you to a crisp and replace you with someone who can, so you better be able to use this to achieve your goal. To which Rito replied, yes, Lord Spencer. This is Spectre, you moron. End of flashback. They were soulless, mindless husks, so sadly, the knowledge was unreachable for them. The Dark Warrior's seal on their forehead greatly enhanced their natural abilities, but they were unable to use jutsu. Rito used the remainder of Akatsuki to help him settle into his new home after the Grand Monarch left the planet. However, he used the knowledge at their base to locate Orochimaru after they were enslaved, and it took much less to get him to cooperate than it did to get the Akatsuki. Orochimaru agreed to do it for free, provided that he would receive all knowledge of all jutsu after they took over the world, and Rito saw no problem with that, so he accepted the deal. Ultimately, he had 3 unbonded enslaved Ninjetti animal spirits, 8 Dark Warriors, Orochimaru, and an army of Tenga warriors at his disposal. Their leader, the Falcon, was absent from his collection, but he had their second.in command, the ape, ready to be bonded, and that search for the bonding ultimately brought Rito to Seaman, but that is a tale for the next chapter. Rito rang a bell and exclaimed, "Oh slave boy," as family matters came to an end. Itachi, dressed as a butler, entered and said, "Master, you rang." "Get me another drink of sulfuric acid," Rito said. "I'm thirsty." With a nod, Itachi uttered, "Of course, master." As he left the room, Itachi did something he hadn't been able to do for 6 months. He was able to think. He thought about a little boy who had been in his life since he was 8 years old. The boy was exactly like him, except that he had a different hairstyle and no bags under his eyes. When that boy came to mind, he could only think one word: Sasuke.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.